Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for your ROH post show for October 5th. Holy crap, Octecker is upon us, SP3. The blessed month of Octecker following Septecker. A very, very blessed autumn that we're having if you're a technical wrestling fan, obviously. And even if you're not one, shame on you, you should be. But we are here to talk some Ring of Honor. We had what I felt like was a bit of a roller coaster of an episode, and because Reg is too good for us, because Reg just like at 4:00 today said, "Oh, by the way, I can't make the post show. I had to go to the bullpen early." Okay, not even early. Let's be real. I am so thankful to have SP3 here because he always is. He's like, you know what? I got you, Kate. I've got your back every single time I ask him, which is always on short notice. So thank God for SP3 coming in clutch. More than I can say for my beloved Yankees. SP3, how you doing today?
Our beloved Yankees,
Rest in peace.
I told you, I live right by the stadium. It's quiet.
Yeah,
It's mighty quiet.
that's so sad.
I'm not used to this in October. But yes, I am back, the substitute teacher of Fightful. I was just on this morning bringing a mocha tint to the spotlight along with Steven Jensen. So I am back, folks. You get a whole day with the Gregory Eddy of Fightful.
Love it. I love it. You're definitely like the cool substitute teacher too. You definitely have like the backwards hat and you sit on the chair backwards and you're like, listen, I'm not like most teachers. Okay. That is SP3 coming in hot.
But I'm not like Mr. Belding. I'm not like Mr. Belding's brother.
Rod?
Like yeah,
don't even
Rod.
get me started on Roddy Belding. Do not get me started. Okay. Because he ran off with a flight attendant and he betrayed those children who were supposed to go whitewater rafting. And we're not even going to talk about Ring of Honor. We're only going to talk about Saved by the Bell. No, that's not true.
Don't. I have emotional trauma from these episodes, ladies and gentlemen. He left us hanging. But that's what Zach and them deserve. They was just going to leave Belding hanging. Like they was just gonna. Belding's been there, been through it all, deal with all your hijinks, all your scams, Zach, and you were just gonna leave him behind for his good-looking brother, just because he got nice shiny hair, and he was trying to teach you how to kiss girls in class.
Hold on, there's nothing wrong with blondes with shiny hair. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but it is him specific, and Zach learned by the end of that, as he always does. Okay, so I am thankful that he came out wiser for the experience because Mr. Belding is a saint. Okay, yes. But we've got a lot of goddesses to talk about. Not saints today, but my goodness, we're going to talk about Athena and Leyla Hirsch. We're going to talk about TMDK. I'm so excited we get to review a TMDK match because I love those guys. Great stuff out of them and the Infantry tonight. But overall, I'm here to complain on the internet, okay? Because there's a couple things we got to talk about here, all right? The first one is, where are all the champions other than Athena, who is here every single time? I said last time, I think we've had more ZSJ defenses on ROH than we have had like world title defenses on ROH, which is not great. They've made a lot of efforts of recent to put more compelling programming on TV. This was kind of like a special episode in a way because we had so much New Japan talent, not just TMDK, but you also had Fred Rosser show up tonight. You also had Kojima show up tonight. So there's a lot of fun things to kind of pull on with all of this. But at the same time, where are my champions, SP3? What is going on with Ring of Honor? We've got a newly crowned Eddie Kingston and he has yet to show up.
I'm kind of numb to that now that I realize that this is a whole goal in mind. The goal, that what it is, I don't know what the goal is, but I'm guessing there's a goal in mind in putting the tag team titles on the AEW World Champion MJF and Adam Cole, who's currently injured. I think there's a goal to put it on Eddie Kingston, who's going to be featured a lot still in AEW. I think there's a goal to Samoa Joe still being featured and getting vignettes on AEW as ROH TV champion. I'm hoping there's a goal to all of this, because yeah, that is a major complaint that people that are going to watch this show week to week. What I want more is kind of the world building, and we saw a little bit of that. We need more of like guys like Ethan Page talking about the, you know, the winning streak and aiming towards a title defense. I thought they did a good job of building up Leyla Hirsch before this title match on this show, and I think that, spoiler alert, I think that was the match of the night, because these two women went out there, just beat the holy hell out of each other. And I was like, it was also smart of them that it looked like they filmed that before Collision. Smart.
Yes.
Do these main matches before Collision. It has a better response from the fans. So you see some of it. I just need more.
Sure. And the other thing is, it's taped. You can edit things. Why are we having the women's match go on first? It makes no sense in the programming, but it was a hell of a match, and that is what we get to start off with. So we are going to talk about that next. I felt like this match was everything that should be on a pay-per-view. Like, this felt to me like it had a big match feel to it, and it's had a little bit of a build to it, and there's Maria's involvement and everything. So the fact that this opened was kind of a bummer for me, to be honest. Like, it definitely felt like it should have main evented. It definitely feels like it should be on a bigger stage. And here's my complaint. I don't have a problem with ROH champions defending on AEW. I have a problem with them defending on AEW and not on Ring of Honor at all, because there's been one champion who is here consistently, and that's Athena, and she never gets to defend on a bigger stage, and she's freaking 40-0, SB3, okay? Why are we not rewarding her for that? But that being said, like, this match in particular felt like a really, really great piece of her reign, because it showcased everything that she's doing so great in this reign, and Leyla Hirsch in the best possible way. I think this is the best we've seen Leyla Hirsch since she's joined AEW. So let's talk about it a little bit here. This was a whole bunch of fun. The finish was great. We have Athena hitting the despicable knee, which I believe was a Twitter suggestion when she put it out there. So kudos to whoever that was. But my favorite sequence in this was Athena going for the O-face and Leyla having it scouted and getting her in the armbar. You know, I love my Lady Techers so much. This was great. And then she transitions into the triangle choke. Athena, one-arm power bomb for a near fall. I thought that could have been the go home right there. That was like my favorite sequence in the whole thing. But a really, really, really strong match. Athena's like showcasing so much more than we ever saw, kind of. And she was great in NXT, and she was great when she came in as a face. But this mix of brutality with the athleticism that we knew she had is just making for some really, really, really compelling in-ring. Matthew Hooks in the chat pointing out that I call Leyla Hirsch Little Lady Taz, because that's what she is to me. Like, I said that by accident once because I couldn't remember her name, and now I call her that on purpose all the time, because she is. She's Little Lady Taz to me. I adore her. I've got into her like right before she signed with AEW, actually. I think Janela's spring break, she was just out suplexing like 300-pound dudes, and I was like, who is this woman? Like, she's incredible. Get her signed up somewhere. They did shortly after. A really, really strong opening match, and one that felt like it should have main evented. I don't want to gripe on that too much, because this was awesome. I find it kind of funny that probably outside of Impact, the best women's wrestling right now is happening on the sub brands. It's happening in Ring of Honor, and it's happening on NXT. Let's get that cleaned up on the main roster, because it's not the talent's fault. It's the booking and the screen time. ROH, we don't have the screen time limit, right? So good stuff in our opener. What were your thoughts on what we got here?
Oh, I absolutely love this matchup. And I think that this goes right up there with one of the better Athena title defenses that we've seen. You know, we got the 2 Willow Nightingale matches. You got the match with Kiera Hogan in Chicago. And I think this match is right up there with those matches, where it was just, it had the right type of intensity. It was very hard hitting. And you saw like the difference in their two styles, where Athena is kind of resourceful and she's hard hitting. She's more of a striker and she has those high impact moves, while Leyla Hirsch is more of a counter wrestler and a submission based technical wrestler. So like you said, the Lady Tekker, she was with the reversals out of the O face. That was one of my favorite moments of the whole entire match. And Athena getting the power bomb out of the triangle choke. These ladies just brought that type of hard hitting style that we are more akin to seeing in like Japan, in the Joshi world of Stardom, TJPW. So I love that they showed a taste of it here. And I'm fine with it opening the show, because it would kind of look strange that there's fans here and then there's fans not here, because they've grown accustomed to, that's how the ROH tapings are. When you watch the show, there's gonna be fans at the beginning, not so many fans by the main event.
Here's my issue with it. And again, I don't want to gripe on something that was overwhelmingly positive. Like, this was a fantastic match. Both of these women showed out. But to my friend at Wizards Podcast, you can follow them on Twitter. They're out of their minds, just a forewarning, but they're the best. I love those guys so much. He said it really, really well on their Monday night show, which is, why, if I am a viewer trying to get into Ring of Honor, would I bother subscribing when last week's main event is Metalik and Brian Cage for no reason, and all the titles are being defended on free television? That makes no sense. I'm not paying $9.99 a month when all of the most important matches are going to be happening on free TV. That makes no sense. So even with something like this, I'm kind of like, well, if this is your main event, you're like, oh my gosh, 40. If all you know is this woman is 40-0 and she looks like that and hits like that, and you know that's going to be your main event, you probably sit through the rest of a Ring of Honor episode because of that. So that's kind of my counter argument. That's a nitpick for sure, but that really resonated with me when he was like, it's Brian Cage and Metalik, because why? Like, that makes no sense. And then you're going to have your trios on AEW, you're going to have your tag on AEW, and you're now going to have Eddie Kingston on AEW. Like, this does not make sense. So
I get that. Or like, there should be a reason for the match. That's my solution, is that there should be a reason, and that you have all these guys that are good workers that you don't have time for necessarily on AEW, and you have them picking up wins on Ring of Honor, like a Brian Cage who's undefeated in singles action, like Ethan Page who's been picking up wins. You just put Scorpio Sky back on there. You got Metalik, who has a reputation from outside of Ring of Honor. That could have been like, you could have rated a whole tournament. I named enough guys that you could have made a whole tournament and determined Eddie Kingston's next challenger. And you haven't really been using Jay Lethal on AEW television, so throw him over here on Ring of Honor as well and build him up and get him some wins, because obviously that's going to be the program for Eddie Kingston. Like, you hit it over our head with these backstage segments and with Eddie mentioning it in his promo to start this show. So put Jay over here and have him get some wins. Instead of having the wins waste time on AEW Rampage, give us something to talk about, because a 2-time Ring of Honor World Champion is back on the show.
Let's give him something to talk about. How about titles, as the old song goes? But hey, you know where you can find something to talk about is FightfulSelect.com. I didn't even finish my spiel in the intro because I was so excited to get into Lady Tekker versus Fallen Goddess. I really wanted to jump in. So we will remind you to subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. So much breaking news coming out about Adam Copeland and the backstage reactions there. Contract news galore. Jade Cargill signing to WWE feels like 6 weeks ago when it was like 10 days ago. It's just bananas what's going on in wrestling right now. So we urge you to go to Fightful Select and subscribe. It's the best way to make sure that your news is accurate and you're not getting it secondhand from weirdos who don't know how to aggregate well. And it also just goes to support us. We're a staff of 40 people. We know you go to find out the information anyway on the internet. Twitter is going to have it screenshotted 5 minutes in, but it is sincerely how we're able to support our ecosystem here. So subscribe to Fightful Select. It will also encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel and to leave a thumbs up. It helps people find us in the algorithm. So when people are like, OMG, I want to know more about Athena and Leyla Hirsch, I want to see two goofballs talking about it. You got us right here. We're adorable. We're adorable. Thank you so much. And get in those super chats if you can. No humper chats tonight because I don't have humper chat access. So super chats only, please. NoHumperChats.com for us, and no fun for Tyler Payne either. My goodness. We get Josh Woods coming out with Mark Sterling, making quick work of Tyler Payne, hitting him with that tilt-a-woods for the win here. Not a ton to say about it because my recap is longer than the match was, but I've said kind of week over week with Josh Woods. Love that they're building him up to be this dominant. I want to see Josh Woods wrestle because he's really good. So that's my only complaint here is I love that they're making him feel so vicious leading into what's surely a rematch with Shibata. But like, I want to see him wrestle because he's really, really good. And he's clearly like unofficially in the pure division, right? We know what he's heading toward. Let's see some pure matches back on the show. We haven't seen that in a while. They're my favorite matches because I am a nerd and I love rules and I am a square. I love the Heritage Cup on NXT. I like rules and I like time limits. All sorts of nerdy stuff going on in my brain. I like techers and I like rules. What a fun gal I must be at parties. But that's my only complaint here. I like that Josh Woods is feeling like a contender, but I just really like watching him wrestle. So I'd like to see more than a squash at some point soon.
You know what to do, fellas. You want to take Kate out on a date? Don't bring flowers. Bring a rule book. Bring a rule book. That's the way to this woman's heart.
And shake my hand because honor is real. That's it. I just want my pure rules date and just
shake my hand before and after the date.
That's right. And wipe your shoes before walking into the restaurant. We respect the mat here, damn it.
The mat is sacred.
The mat is sacred, SP3.
That's all you gotta remember. Kate's favorite titles: Heritage Cup, the New Japan World TV title, and the ROH Pure Championship.
Yeah, please give me rules and time limits. What a wild evening you have with me.
MC square equals Tequila Sunrise. But yes, Joshua, I appreciate that there's a story here. They're aiming towards something. They're building towards something. They've made it clear. It's a simple story to tell. So I'm okay with a few weeks where he just basically washes through people because we already got at the start of this story the match with Silas Young. So you need a couple of ones where he kind of washes through guys. But I do agree we are getting to the point that, yeah, he needs to verse somebody of actual competition so he can have a match, especially under the pure rules, so we can see that he's ready for Shibata.
It would be 69 pages, A-Shock. You know me better than this, okay? You know if there's an opportunity to make a 69 joke.
Exactly.
It's right there. Speaking of which, how could I leave out the most important part? Look, Wrestle Dream was amazing, okay? Got to see ZSJ and Danielson live. Got to see Adam Copeland debut. Got to work the press room, which was super fun. Stayed at a fancy schman's hotel. Saw people I loved. It was incredible. On the way back, SP3, I ordered my Minion shirt. The fallen goddess herself assigns me Minion number 6900, which looks like boobs. 69. It's the best day of my life. That's not even hyperbolic at all. Okay. So I might be a nerd. Okay. I might like my rules and my time limits, but I'm also a little fun with my 69 jokes. Okay. But I'm officially number 69 boobs 69.
69 boobs 69. The greatest number of all time, ladies and gentlemen. I was so happy to see this. I'm living vicariously through Kate nowadays. You got to see.
Did you order your Minion shirt?
I need to. See,
gotta back them tweets up.
This is why I need this faithful substitute teacher job to become a permanent position.
It's true, yeah. It's true. Expense it back. Along with your school chalk and your.
I got twins at home, so you gotta finance it.
I get it.
Yeah, I'm stretching it, but I expect my number to be 3333333. Athena, when I do purchase the shirt. But yes, I was living vicariously through you with that, as well as you were there live for one of the greatest matches I've ever seen: Bryan Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr.
Unbelievable, that match. Unbelievable to see live. But I will say I watched it back because Technical Wrestling much like my pure nerdness, like is helped by seeing the nuances on screen. So
Yes.
it was incredible to be there live. Appreciated it even more on the rewatch, and commentary was just a blast. Nigel,
all time
hysterical.
commentary performance by
My God.
Nigel and Moxley.
So good. So good. And speaking of things that are so good, how about Rocky Romero? Give this man his flowers, can we? Rocky Romero and Christopher Daniels here. I really liked this match. I feel like we might be running to the Christopher Daniels as a former champion well a little bit too much. Like, I would have maybe preferred to see Rocky against maybe a younger rising talent than necessarily Christopher Daniels, because I don't know if you know this, he's gotten some reps in, Christopher Daniels. He's got it down. He knows how to wrestle here, but not mad about this in any ways. If I'm booking it, I might put him against a young rising talent, because this didn't really have stakes. This was just a respect match, which they mentioned in a promo before. But for the finish, we get Rocky Romero backdropping out of the Angel's wings, which always looks so great. And then hitting that rewind kick before the running sliced bread. Absolutely adore this. Highlight for me, that rollout of a back suplex into the tornado DDT. Underrated tornado DDT, Rocky Romero. Looks great every time he hits it. Rocky's so great at so many things in wrestling. I say it anytime he's on screen. Like, I don't understand how he's so good at commentary and booking and wrestling and all of this. Like, he is just like an incredible wrestling mind, and that's incredibly evident in his in-ring execution of things. And I thought this was a whole bunch of fun. This wasn't terribly long, but it was just a great match to have on the card. And again, to mix up some of that New Japan talent in there. What do you think of this?
This was a match that I thought could have main evented. I feel like they are not capitalizing on the fact that they have all this ROH tape library, because we got this promo early with them talking about their history and Rocky being a former Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion, Daniels being, a Grand Slam champion in Ring of Honor, but they did not show me. Don't tell me, show me sometimes. I would love to if you showed me, and this was the main event, and you had highlights of Daniels beating Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor World Championship, or Rocky and Davey Richards bringing the ROH World Tag Team titles or something like that. If you show highlights throughout the night, it feels more important, and then it feels worthy of you going to the well of the former Ring of Honor World Champion Christopher Daniels. Just mere, what was it, 2 weeks ago, he lost to Darius Martin. So it seems like too soon, and this match could have been made more because of their history with Ring of Honor. They sometimes have these matches with these talent that have so much history to the promotion, and they're not really making it more than it could have. And this felt like a missed opportunity in that part. But the two guys performed superbly. I thought it was a really good matchup, and I thought throughout this entire episode, this was some of the best wrestling that I've seen on Ring of Honor in a few weeks now.
This was great, but you know what? They probably didn't worry about the backstory because they just had so many title defenses. Oh wait, they don't have title defenses. Stop handcuffing Ian Riccaboni, who's trying his damn best here. But we've got a couple of chats to get through. Thank you guys so much for your support. RH saying Athena is the ROH MVP every week, baby. Leyla is so good. She really is. I'm so glad she's healthy and back. Let's get Athena up to AEW and run rampant. Sup, partner, and thumbs up to the one and only SP3. Look, if Reg can't make it, I know who I'm calling, and it's SP3. And not just because he is the most reliable guy in the game. Okay, he is always there to pick up the call. But we have so much fun chopping it up over here. I adore it. Thank you so much for the support. And you're right. I mean, this has been Athena's show. She's made the absolute most of it. And it's been a joy to see. I want her to move up, but I also fear what happens when she moves up because the rest of the show is so thin.
It's really damn if you do, damn if you don't situation now with Athena on Ring of Honor, because they had a couple of acts that were working, and they basically worked as a developmental, that it worked on Ring of Honor and they brought it up to AEW, like the Righteous, like the Kingdom. But Athena is kind of the missing part of that, because if you leave her off, it's what does Ring of Honor have? What is Ring of Honor after that? That's why it makes me feel like they're going to go probably longer than we think with this whole Ring of Honor women's title run, because I don't know who they put in this position to beat her now outside of Billie Starkz, but that feels like we're a few months away too.
Billie's there. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, but man, they got to start getting Trish Adora some wins, because I feel like she could really, really be something special. It has felt for a while like there's a bunch of people that could be contenders. It's just a matter of what one's actually going to beat them. Like, I feel like Leyla Hirsch kicking around, Billie kicking around. You had Diamante there for a minute. She went to AEW and was working on a story that got scratched, but might be coming back. Like, there's some missing pieces there, but I like that there's multiple contenders, because she's been such a dominant champ that you kind of have to have that for any sort of believability, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So we move on to Lexi Nair, who's backstage with Dalton Castle, and Dalton Castle is me today. I have Dalton Castle today. I was also not here for a lot of the things that happened in my day. I had a very taxing day at work, and I just related to him just feeling the pressure of the fans and wanting to be what the people need, what they deserve, and his white t-shirt. He didn't even have an outfit prepared today. That I had because I wore my my sweater that looks like a 90s cup, like when you go to the dentist, and it has like the wavy thing on it. But he just had his Orange Cassidy t-shirt on out there. It's Dalton Castle just in a t-shirt and jeans. Makes me itchy. It felt uncomfortable, SP3. Always a highlight when he's on screen. Like, we talk about people that are holding ROH together. His name's in that conversation. Like, Athena from the dominant champion and build that she's had 100%, but Dalton Castle feeling like ROH, right? Like, that guy is ROH through and through to me. This is so much fun. And Lexi's really, really great in these. We're going to talk about her and this other role that she's developed into in a minute here. But what are your thoughts on Dalton? And what do you want to see him do next, I guess, is the best question here.
I want to see him in some type of title picture, because he deserves it. Like, there's guys that you put the title on because they're bringing something to the show that's different, that's going to get people to watch. So you want to make him one of the feature stars. So I think that maybe all this promo work and him talking about revitalizing Ring of Honor and him consistently going after and mentioning the Ring of Honor television championship means that Tony is kind of revering course, because we all kind of understand the course was going towards Mark Briscoe beating Samoa Joe. And I think I said it the last time I was on here. The problem Tony has when he has an issue is he doesn't know. Yeah, he's just married to it, and he doesn't know how to go to plan B. And I think that if there is any great plan B in ROH right now, it has to be Dalton Castle. So I think Joe is ready to be on AEW permanently. So you could just have Dalton Castle be the guy to dethrone him and feature him week to week, whether it's promos, whether it's him on commentary, whether it's him just talking to the camera doing his entrance. Dalton Castle is entertaining. We need more of it.
Yeah, I thought it might have been Shane Taylor. Like, I really thought that was where they were going. They could still go there, especially with Shane Taylor Promotions reforming. I would not mind seeing a rematch against Dalton Castle, but I'll also throw this at you. Dalton and the boys defeating the Hung Bucks. I'm in. It feels to me like that's probably headed to the Dark Order. Like, that makes sense from a story perspective, but I would not be mad because, first of all, the silliness would just be rampant. Like, that would just be such a fun match with the way that the Jacksons could lean into things and with how charismatic and incredible Dalton is. Like, I think there's so much fun work to be had there. But Dalton feels like a single star to me, supported by the boys more than a multi-mid champion. So I am with you on that. I hope Mark Briscoe is closer. If he is able to come back, I hope it's sooner rather than later, because Joe's got to drop his title. And I also just, like, from a human being perspective, and hope his health is okay, that he would be coming back sooner than later. But it does feel like we are at a stalling point with where these titles are, and that they are. Feels like ROH is just the whipping boy of AEW right now. It's rough. It's rough.
Like, New Japan's like, I thought that was our position. But no, there is some story there if you did want to do Dalton Castle and the boys versus the Hung Bucks, because the Hung Bucks beat them the first time they won the Ring of Honor World 6-Man Tag Team titles. So you could run it back and have Dalton and the boys beat them. But I like I said, I think that there's a goal to having this AEW talent have all those ROH titles. So I'm hoping there's a goal with the Hung Bucks having those titles.
I think there is, and I think that goal is a record-breaking gate. I think that they've kind of made that abundantly clear that, like, we want the next pay-per-view to be the highest-grossing, highest-selling in ROH history, so we're going to load it up with as much AEW talent as we can. And to their credit, it's all talent that has ties to Ring of Honor. Like, these are not people that Adam Copeland's not coming in here, right? And
not like Jericho.
ROH TV title. Yeah, it's all people that are synonymous with the brand for some period or not. So that much I do appreciate. I just want the titles to actually be around, because the thing is, these are also people that work Wednesdays. They're not even people that generally work Saturdays. If they were people that work Saturdays, you could have them defend. But even with CM Punk absent, it certainly feels like the Hung Bucks are a Wednesday night crew.
Yeah. 100%. And I'm just hoping that they do accomplish their goal. And, you know, of course, Fightful Select, the best $5 in the business, talked about the Tony Khan having a pay-per-view at the end of December in New York City. I mean, that sounds like Final Battle to me. So the report made it open-ended that they don't know if it's for AEW or Ring of Honor. So fingers crossed, Final Battle in the Hammerstein, please. Back home.
Gosh.
Back home.
Are we so there? Because we are.
I'm so there.
Like, how there are we, SP3? We're the most there.
I am so there.
Bro,
I will apply for media, because Tony Khan looks out for me when they're in New York only. But this will be so strange that I would apply for media, and if I get it, because I'm so used to getting balcony seats at Ring of Honor events and just walking down to the floor, because that's how it used to be, the Wild Wild West when I was going to Ring of Honor events. I spent so many events just standing next to Papa Briscoe and the whole family.
Oh, that's my friends that used to go in that era have also said that, like, they would just get tickets and just stand, because it was like, I don't want to sit down and watch ROH at Hammerstein. That just feels wrong. So good times hopefully on the horizon. Fingers crossed.
Stand on the floor, stand on the balcony. My first event that I ever took my friend to, I think it was Best in the World 2011. Kevin Steen returned and he almost pushed him off the balcony. Good times.
Oh my goodness.
He came through the balcony and we were in the way, so he pushed him out, almost pushed him out the way. He was like, "Oh my God, Kevin Steen almost pushed me off the balcony." He had a beer in his hand and stuff, spilled it all over himself. It's great times.
Those were the days, SP3. But we're gonna bring them back because we are so there if it happens. And I'll tell you what else I was here for. Fred Rosser and Scorpio Sky. This was awesome. I loved this match. Fred Rosser making his ROH debut in this era, at least, and Scorpio Sky getting back on programming, which is good to see. I felt like it was a little anticlimactic the way they brought back a former champion. So I'm glad to see him getting to shine here, because I thought this match was really, really good. This ends with Scorpio Sky hitting a suplex and a cradle for a near fall, and then ducking a rolling forearm and hitting the TKO on Fred Rosser for the win. Something I really liked in this was Rosser with those chop lariat combinations. I thought was great. Like, we don't always see kind of that aggression from him, and I really, really, really liked it here. Like, not to say he's not usually hard hitting, but it just felt like he had some extra oomph in those tonight. Very, very cool to see him getting on some ROH screen time, because New Japan talent comes around more than ROH talent does. But this was a really good match. This actually, I expected it to be very good. I thought it was great. This pleasantly surprised me in what it brought in ring-wise. They had really good chemistry. Really, really liked this, more than I was expecting to. What were your thoughts?
I thought this was a really good matchup. You have two underrated workers, and it's kind of been the theme the last 2 weeks with Scorpio Sky, with him facing Tony Nese last week in a really good matchup. And then this week, I thought that this was another really good match. And Fred Rosser, man, New Japan fans know we've been shooting in the gym with Fred Rosser since the pandemic days with the New Japan Strong, because he was one of the reasons to watch it during the pandemic era. He had a fantastic match with Tom Lawler, which led into their strong open weight rivalry, where he won the strong open weight championship. And he's just brought a more aggressive style to him since working with New Japan, and it's more akin to the never open weight championship style of like a Shibata, a Ishii, Goto, those type of guys. That's the style that Fred Rosser now brings, and it's totally different from the guy that I really wasn't interested in during his time in WWE. He's a lot more interesting a worker. He is more consistent in the ring, and we saw that here with Scorpio Sky. I know he is based, and now he seems to kind of have filled the role for Shibata at the LA Dojo, which is now the New Japan Pro Wrestling Academy. So I know that he can't come around too often, but I would love to see him more because more people need to know that he's so much better than what he was during his time in WWE.
He is, and because wrestling is for everyone and also Fightful is for everyone, very cool that he is the first openly gay title holder in New Japan as well, I believe.
Yes.
And also was hysterical that they did a whole storyline with him and Juice Robinson where he was like, I'm gonna steal your girl and I'm not even straight with Toni Storm. That killed me. I got to see that whole live at Capital Collision. Really, really good stuff. Very cool to see him growing into his own, and to your point, holding it down at New Japan Academy. We'd love to see it. Guys, get in those super chats. Leave a thumbs up on this video if you could. We got Joel coming on to talk Impact, and he doesn't have a co-host unless one of us wants to stick around because Crest is out tonight. I'm not really up to date on my Impact, but maybe I'll stick around just for him to have someone to bounce things off of.
I might stick around. I'll watch Impact. I just didn't watch today's episode because you got me here. So
I know I'm 3 weeks behind on Impact, but
Joel, come on, Joel. I mean, if you're watching right now, how you didn't call me?
There you go.
I have two computers. I could have had the other computer have Impact on. Could have had the other computer have Impact on while we're talking right now. So
it's true.
You know,
it's true. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a fans revenge match. You and Tasha Steelz in action. So hey, if you want to stick around, I would not mind having an earlier night tonight at all. But stick around for Joel and maybe Joel and a mystery opponent to be named later, or a mystery tag partner to be named later. Right now it is vacant with a question mark. But in the meantime, please leave a thumbs up on this video to help people find us in the algo and send in those super chats if there's anything that you would like to talk about, or if you just want to tell SB3 that he's really nice, because he is. It's true.
Thank you. Kate's
really
nice too.
Oh, stop. We're so nice and fun. We're so nice and fun and pretty, all of us. Speaking of nice and fun and pretty, we get Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue, and Kiera Hogan defeating Lady Frost and the Renegade ladies. Nightingale hitting Charlette with the Babe with the power bomb. This was a blast. This was way more fun than it had any right to be, considering how chopped together it was. I do feel like, while I loved the match, I have some concerns about what are we doing with Willow Nightingale, right? Like, she won the Owen. She had this incredible match at Death Before Dishonor, but she kind of can't go back to the Athena and Willow well a fifth time. She was featured prominently on the main roster, but not so much of late. Sky Blue and Kiera Hogan, I think, perfect in this role. But Lady Frost, like, comes back every couple weeks and they make her feel like a big deal. And then she either has 50-50 booking or with someone, or just outright loses in matches like this. And the Renegades, you know, I think they're great workers, but there's not a tag division here. So it just kind of feels like they're there to eat pins. So I loved a lot of the in-ring, more than I was expecting to. I think Kiera Hogan is going to blossom into a star beyond a star. We're starting to see shades of that come to life. Willow, of course, super, super over. Lady Frost, my girl, I love her so much. But as fun as the match was, I'm kind of like, what is the trajectory of the ladies involved here? Because it's getting a little bit muddy, I feel like, for some people who should not. There shouldn't be muddiness about.
No, I feel like we are seeing before our eyes them not capitalizing on all the momentum that Willow Nightingale had this past spring, when she beat Mercedes Moné and became the first ever New Japan Strong Women's Champion. Then went on to win the Owen Hart Cup. And like, I feel like what A-Shock is saying in the chat, that is gonna be, we're gonna look back on that and be like, yeah, that was probably the time, was her beating Athena at Death Before Dishonor. Like, even though I love Athena, I love the work she's doing, honestly, the whole minion training, she could probably do it without the Ring of Honor Women's World Champ.
Sure.
If you're still gonna keep her on here, she could probably do this all without the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship, or she can just be on AEW, you know, because you need more talent that get over. And look at all the talent that's getting over in the women's division with Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, Timeless, Toni Storm.
We'll be back with this important word from our sponsors.
With an important word from our sponsors.
Slap them
titties. Give me those titties. So yeah, you can add Athena to all of that, and that can be a great women's division. And so I don't understand that. Yeah, it seems like Willow Nightingale, the momentum is dying down before our eyes, and it's very unfortunate for that.
I agree, and I just feel like, of anybody in the world, I feel like Willow's chin is up and her tits are out, and she is watching for the shoe. She deserves better than to be just like kind of thrown together in matches like this. Get my girl Willow back on screen. I kind of feel the same way about Ruby Soho. Like, she's someone who has perennially been like challenging for a title, but always loses. Like, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, which you can build a really great story around, but if you don't pay any of that off, she's kind of just a big loser, and she deserves a lot more than that. So fingers crossed that they get her on a better path. But we have some really, really fun work here with Lexi Nair, who is, man, is she blossoming. We're going to talk about the segment in a little bit, but even in things like this, we've got Matthew Hook saying, Lexi is my favorite interviewer other than Renee. Man, have we seen her just week over week grow into such a great personality, not only in the obvious stuff with the minion training, but like what she's bringing out of Ethan Page and reactions in their interviews. Like, her personality is really, really starting to shine through. I absolutely love it. And she does a great job here. And this little backstage with the infantry, which I thought was so much fun. The fashion, okay? The fashion of Shawn Dean and Carly Bravo. Unreal. Trish Adora just like clowning around in the back, I thought was so much fun too. They were so silly in this. They kind of hype up Trish Adora's match later against Billie Starkz. Nice promo for this group that was building a little bit and then kind of halted. If you know my theories on this, and I'm sure you do, let's take a look. Okay, you know Charlie Day with the It's Always Sunny, There Is No Carol in HR board behind. This is how my brain is working with this. Okay, you got Adam Cole and MJF as your tag champs. Okay, right?
Got that
who has 2 wins over MJF? Shawn Dean. Okay.
Yes.
Who was like on a roll in the tag division? The Infantry.
Yes.
MJF fears Shawn Dean, so he's paying people off clearly to book the Infantry against people that, you know, they aren't as familiar with, so that they're going to lose to them because they're a little bit less prepared. This is all MJF's doing. Okay, because the Infantry is a world-class tag team that could absolutely dethrone MJF and Adam Cole. And with Adam Cole out, you think Shawn Dean is going to give a crap about your single clothesline or your solo kangaroo kick? Nah. A military man, my friend. He's prepared for anything. Anything. So, obviously, MJF is paying people off here. That's all I'm saying. I call it a conspiracy theory if you want. I think it's a pretty sound one. The writing's on the wall.
Hey,
also,
I heard he was a really big fan of Retribution, MJF, and that's his whole connection to the former Slapjack Shane Ace.
That makes sense. Honestly, I can read that. So I'm just saying, it might be a conspiracy theory. It might be a very sound one. Also, the earth is flat. No, I'm just kidding.
Keep it going. Keep it going. No, I thought this match was a fine matchup. I like TMDK picking up a victory because they just lost to Bishamon for the IWGP Tag Team Championships when they shouldn't have. Gato, you coward. You coward, Gato. I will pressure you. I will pressure you with the subtitles because you don't understand a word that I'm saying, but I'm going to say it in your language. Billy Club need the Rebel. TMDK needed the tag team titles. So you should have put the tag team titles on.
You kind of sounded like Ned from South Park. They're coming right for us. The match was super fun.
My name is Kane.
We We got TMDK winning with the Tank Buster here. Some highlights for me was this was Mikey Nichols, by the way, and Shane Haste with birthday boy yesterday, bad dude Tito. Happy birthday, bad dude Tito. At ringside. Hey, SP3, you want to hear my joke?
Yeah.
You want to hear my TMDK joke?
Yeah.
What do you light birthday candles with?
What?
Fire! I could never have done that with Red on stream. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. My joke landed. I was going to go one way or the other. Oh, goodness.
Yes, it makes it funnier that I can totally see Reg's response like, okay.
He'd be like, that damn white girl always talking about TMDK. That's what Reg would say. But I'm here with SP3 and he likes my TMDK jokes. Thank you very much. But in this match, there was a lot of good stuff happening. I loved the senton fist drop combo that we get. That spine buster from Mikey Nichols looking great on Carly Bravo. This was a whole bunch of fun. Glad to see them get the win. Great stuff here. Also, just a nice showing for TMDK on an American television promotion. Like, it's good to see that. I thought their match with the Acclaimed and Darius was super fun at Wrestle Dream as well. I'm a Mass Line stan. I'm always going to talk about that theme. It's a banger. We stand Mass Lines in the house here. Go buy the vinyl. masslines.bandcamp.com. I think they're the best. We love them. Go support. Great music. But this I thought was super fun.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And also Shane Haste calling his power bomb the Olivia Newton bomb is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Shane Haste is hilarious.
It's hysterical, one would say.
Hysterical Shane Haste. If you watch New Japan, him and Zack Sabre Jr. had one of the funniest promos of the year where he tried to imitate Zack. He was wearing his jacket, trying to do an English accent. It was hilarious. One of the most hilarious promos of the whole entire year. And both guys showed out in the G1 Climax tournament as single stars as well. So I love seeing them get some spotlight on them in the tag team division because I feel like they're probably the most underrated tag team out there. And they've kind of revitalized their stance in 2023.
They should have beat Ichiban. You are right. But very cool to see them show up here and get the W. I am excited to see the Infantry staying in the mix, though, I will say. They get the loss here, but I thought the promo was really great. Their characters coming to life. I just think the Infantry is just a really badass trio. Like, it's a really, really cool common thread that all three of them have. And I feel like it's going to propel Trish Adora in a lot of ways that she is going to benefit from. So I am excited for that. We move along. Did I miss the Ethan Page match? I did miss the Ethan Page match. We got Ethan Page defeating Invictus Cash in what I thought was, for a match that was like a 4-minute sprint or something, this was not long. Very, very well put together. Very well put together. This is Ethan Page continuing his trajectory toward a title challenge. We got a promo earlier with Page saying that Eddie Kingston should be watching him and everybody in ROH should be watching him. But he wins with the... what does he win with? The headshot.
The cutter. Yeah, the cutter.
Yeah, they call it. I was like, what did they call it again? They call it the headshot, but this was really nicely set up. We get a running shoulder block on the floor, and then we get rolling of Cash back into the ring for that headshot. So some damage done, which I really like with a move like a cutter because it feels like a little bit more basic in a way. So I like some punishment being laid in before there. And that twisting suplex that Ethan Page has is fantastic. But I'm not really that familiar with Invictus Cash, and he's got a great look to him. He moves super well in the ring. I feel like in defeat, he's someone that I want to go learn more about, which I think is the most that you can hope for from something like this.
Yeah, you have to try to stand out when you have this moment. And I've heard his name a bunch on the independent scene, but this matchup here was kind of like my first real look at a full matchup from him. So I was impressed, and I agree with you. It made me be like, okay, let me see something from him when he's not in this position, when he's kind of given the full time to have a real matchup. But like you said, this was well put together, a part of the Ethan Page story, which once again, I like anything that it feels like we're building to something on this show.
That part is refreshing. It would be nice if the titles that we were building to were around, but it does feel like talent has a direction. I will mention a situation later that feels a little less direction based, but Ian Riccaboni, just being one of the best commentators in the world, did a really good job selling me on it. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But until then, we'll remind you to get in your super chats and leave a thumbs up on this video. If you're looking for your Impact post-show, Joel will be along in a little bit, and maybe one of us will stick around. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be Joel and vacant with a question mark over his head. But until then, we get Kojima and Tony Nese and what I thought was a funny little setup of what they did here. You've got the leader of the Bread Club and Kojima here against personal fitness guru Tony Nese. This was a whole bunch of fun. Backstage, we have Tony Nese and Smart Mark saying that carbs are the enemy. How dare you, sir? All right, how dare you? Kojima, quick in-ring promo here just to remind us that he likes bread. But I cannot believe what Kojima is doing at this stage of his career from both a move execution standpoint and I am still so invested in this guy's standpoint. Like, he's just fantastic. And he has a Western Lariat here and scores the win off of this. Post-match, Kojima is stuffing bread down Tony Nese's throat to celebrate. This is a whole heck of a bunch of fun. You're a New Japan nerd like me, so you remember ZSJ setting up a challenge defense with or title defense on the way to the bathroom with Kojima. Good stuff from Kojima. He's really, really, really funny, and he just so understands how to make a crowd be invested regardless of where in the world he is. Like, a New Japan crowd, to me, is very different from a Ring of Honor crowd, is very different from an AEW Forbidden Door crowd. He will just grab your attention, and what better way to do that than with bread?
Bread Club. It made so much sense. The leader of Bread Club came out to defend the honor of bread. Like, yo, I had my friend watching the show, and he like messaged me. He was like, yo, that bread costs like $8, and he stepped on it. Like he was like, that's mad disrespectful.
It
He
is.
was like, now I'm mad at Tony Nese, and he's a Tony Nese fan. He's like, now I'm mad at Tony Nese. I want to see Kojima beat him up. So yes, I love the setup. The only thing I would have changed is they do so often of showing us what the next match is. This was one instance that I would have liked for us to be like the live crowd that didn't know Kojima was gonna come out and that it made sense for him. Like, they showed us the graphic for the matchup, and then you get the crowd popping because it's a surprise for them, but it's not a surprise for the people watching at home. Why couldn't you just put up Tony Nese in action next? Like, that would have been fine. You did that with multiple people on the show, but you didn't put it with him because you wanted to promote Kojima was next, but you didn't have to. I would have liked the surprise pop at home. But the matchup
taped it a week ago, SP3.
Also true. Also true. But yes, I like Kojima picking up the win here, and I like him getting a spotlight because it felt like 2 years ago he was kind of closing the door on his full-time run. He had like a rivalry with United Empire and lost to Will Ospreay, and it felt like that was going to be his final kind of big feud in New Japan. But he goes to Pro Wrestling Noah, gets a GAC heavyweight title reign, and kind of just revitalized his career. He's getting more spots in New Japan, getting more spots in AEW, Ring of Honor. Love to see it. Kojima's a legend, and you love to see him get the love that he's getting right now.
Look, sometimes you just can't put the bread down. You know what I mean? I get it.
I love the bread. Can't put the bread down.
You're not putting it down until that whole loaf is gone. That's all. That's all I'm saying. But we've got more to get through here. Stick around for Joel and a mystery partner after for Impact. But for now, we talk some more minion training with Athena, Billie Starkz, and Lexi Nair. This is just hysterical work. Like, this is so much fun. It's so refreshing in an ecosystem like Ring of Honor 2, where everything is so match heavy, to have these vignettes of her being a drill sergeant. The suck-up teacher's pet that Lexi Nair is in this is unbelievable to me. Like, she is just grown so much. And you have seen it build, like, week over week. She's been fantastic in this. Billie Starkz failing her minion training, which means she has one more punishment that she has to go through in hazing here. I was in a sorority. I know the pain, but she has to go knock on Tony Khan's door and say, I'm Willow Nightingale and I'm a big loser. This is so much fun. And as much as Athena is getting her props, Billie Starkz reluctantly being along for the ride with this absolute charm that she just naturally has is so much fun. At one point, she turns to Lexi and is like, well, what is she to us? And she's like, a mentor. And she's like, yeah, a mentor. But Lexi being like she's so passionate and smart and nice and charismatic, and Billie Starkz being like, sure, yeah, all those things. This was just so much fun. Are you loving minion training as much as I am, or is that something special to minion number 69, boobs 69?
Oh, it's the best thing ever. I was doing my squats during this segment because I am a minion in training, and I did my squats for the entire segment because I am trying to become a great minion, just like Lexi Nair. Lexi Nair, oh my god, she is the prototypical minion. She is what minions should strive to be. She is, and the timing of it, I love the dynamic with everything, with her sucking up to Athena and being so good and following all her directions, while Billie Starkz is not 100% into this. Is so against her personality, and you see that through these segments. And I agree with you, they stand out so much. It's the stuff that we've enjoyed on AEW with Better Than You Bebe, or the Team TNA at the Briscoe Farm. Those segments have been some of the highlights of AEW this year, and we're seeing it here with the minion training, so I love it.
I agree. And Ronald Hollick reminding us how healthy women's wrestling is right now. Excited for Women's Grand Prix and Redemption from Wrestling Revolver this weekend with the independent ROH and AEW talent, plus Veda and Renee on commentary. Really, really, really cool stuff. And it's amazing how much you can book great women's wrestling and not have to involve anybody who's racist and problematic in the process, like Jessica Blanchard. A great match we get, though, between Billie Starkz and Trish Adora. Billie Starkz with the pull-up forearm to the top rope for a swanton, but Adora getting the knees up I thought was great, but Starkz hits the star 10 and locks in the crossface for the win. I don't know how many more times I can say, hey, Trish Adora has an incredible bridging suplex, but we need to get this woman some wins. This is like week 4 of that. Let's get Trish Adora some wins. She should not be eating this many losses consecutively, but the match was a whole bunch of fun. And boy, oh boy, Billie Starkz has no right being this good at this age. She gets every aspect of this. The interplay with Athena is so much fun. She's making Athena happy there. She might have failed her minion trading, but she at least gets the win. Your thoughts on this?
And it was the perfect kind of follow-up to the minion training, because we saw it at play with Billie adopting some of Athena's mannerisms, and then also playing off of their previous bout when they faced on Ring of Honor television, and Billie lost to Trish Adora because she was like, I shouldn't have lost to you. I shouldn't have lost to you. It was great. It was great because she definitely had the Athena mannerism when Athena starts pouting and stuff. It was so awesome how Billie was doing it, and this told the story of Billie slowly transforming into her. And that was a nice follow-up to the post-match of the Athena and Leyla Hirsch match, where Athena looked like she was going to attack Leyla, but she didn't because Billie asked her not to. So it's like Billie's rubbing off on Athena almost as much as Athena's rubbing off on Billie.
It's almost like you can use matches to build out really compelling stories in Ring of Honor. Almost
crazy. Like over titles too. It's crazy.
It's true. It's true. I'll tell you one thing that I think is very compelling is Lee Johnson is like growing week over week over week. I don't know what's happened over the past 6 weeks, but to me, like, this guy is blossoming with every in-ring rep he gets. Everything that is a wrestling fundamental is looking so crisp and explosive, and everything that demands a little more athleticism is looking really great too. But to me, as established, I'm a freaking nerd. So when I see fundamentals executed extremely well, that's right in my wheelhouse. And Lee Johnson is scratching right where I itch, buddy. But we get Johnson ducking a forearm and hitting a really great snap German suplex. My favorite type of suplex, because if you didn't think I was enough of a nerd for loving rules and time limits, I also have a favorite type of suplex. He hits a Blue Thunder Bomb for the near fall. This match was a whole bunch of fun. Darius Martin, I feel like, are you in a trio? Are you in a tag team? Or are you a singles competitor? Can we clear that up in the Ring of Honor landscape, please? We've seen a lot of progress in this regard. Would love some clarity for this guy specifically because he's really, really good. Your thoughts on this match that we got?
I thought this was the matchup that exceeded my expectations the most because I thought it was just going to be a regular fine matchup. We'll see some good work from both guys, but I thought this was a damn good matchup, and both guys kind of showed what they can offer. And Lee Johnson, even though he's going to take some time off, he feels like a guy that is the perfect kind of guy to be in Ring of Honor on the AEW roster, where he's young. He hasn't really gotten the chance to establish himself on AEW television, that he can become one of the guys that we look at and we watch develop on Ring of Honor, and that he can become one of the guys that you want to watch develop on Ring of Honor. So I hope that when he comes back, they put him back on Ring of Honor and he can continue his progression there. And Darius Martin, I think now they're trying him. They're going to be like, they're like, hey, your brother is like somewhere in his recovery, hopefully. So we're going to give you now a singles run for the next 3 to 6 months, depending on when he comes back. So hopefully this is going somewhere, like maybe a Ring of Honor TV title match, something like that. That would be nice. So it has to have some goal, because you just gave him a win over Christopher Daniels, you gave him over a win over Lee Johnson. It seems like we're building somewhere, but there's always the chance that next week he'll lose a random matchup. So
yeah, maybe in a trio with a light-skinned fella, as Red
with
always likes to point out.
Yes, with the light-skinned team, light-skin, let's go.
Action and Ready, and a light-skinned black guy. That is,
and you know what they do? They have the survey, y'all, where they be like, is your mother or father white? Nope, gotta move on. Sorry. Do you have a white girlfriend? Lee Johnson, you're in.
Soon to be down. A white wife. Because good for them. They love love. They're off to be married.
Yes.
Cute. Yes. Congratulations to them. Well, we get Cole Carter, who I just don't care about. And Griff Garrison, not a fault of his own. This character is just the least 4K character in the whole wide world. But we get him and Griff Garrison versus the Workhorsemen, Anthony Henry and JD Drake, versus the Iron Savages, who I love, and Shane Taylor Promotions. Did I smush my matches together? Or was this a 4-way? Am I out of my mind?
It was a 4-way.
It was a 4-way. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Sorry. I'm out of my mind.
Yeah. Shane Taylor Promotions, Maria's Playboys.
There it is. Maria's Playboys.
Workhorsemen and Iron Savages.
That's what it was. Thank you for reminding me. That tells you how invested I am in Cole Carter and Griff Garrison right now. Just not the move for me. But now that I'm reading the finish, I remember better. The Savages getting involved, leading to Bronson hitting a really nice dive onto the floor. Boulder takes Carter down, and Maria threatening with the Savage Sauce. I'm loving the Savage Sauce stuff. It absolutely cracks me up. Shane Taylor tags in and just annihilates Cole Carter with a knockout punch for the win. I think that's why I forgot there were other teams in this, to be honest, was because Shane Taylor laid him out. Holy cow. This is really, really fun. I'm saying Iron Savages versus TMDK when I need those personalities in the ring and the in-ring together at some point. But this was, considering I couldn't recall how it actually went down now that I'm remembering, was actually very fun. This was a whole heck of a lot of fun. I wish this had some sort of consequence. I wish we knew the victor of this was on their way to a tag title, but the tag titles haven't been around since before Jay Briscoe passed away. So,
yeah,
yeesh. Your thoughts on the match, though, and what you want to see out of the next tag team defense, I guess.
The next tag team title matchup, it seems like it might be on pay-per-view at Final Battle in December, 2 months from now, but I think that this is all leading to the Kingdom beating Better Than You, Bebe, or just MJF to win the tag team titles. If we could squeeze in a tag team title match on an AEW Dynamite or Collision, that's the only place we're going to see it, folks. Sorry to tell you. So maybe Shane Taylor Promotions, you can get them in there, and then you can have Keith Lee be MJF's partner for the night. How about that? See, I made it better. Instead of this all leading to Keith Lee teaming back up with Dustin Rhodes to be naturally limitless against Shane Taylor Promotions. What happened to the Shane Taylor? What happened to the Lee Johnson versus Keith Lee matchup? They promoted like 3 weeks ago on Collision.
I don't know. SB3, I miss having champions around. That's why I melted off screen.
Oh my God, Kate melted!
I melted off screen. I just miss having champions.
I was like, there's only a sweater and blonde hair on the desk now.
My cup from the 1990s dentist office sweater. Thank you very much. Well, we finally get to our main event as a very patient Joel waits in the wings. We get Team Lucha. Why is this the main event and why isn't the women's title? We get Gringo Loco hitting a dive onto the floor, missing Komander, and a moonsault in the ring. Komander with a really nice step-up Canadian Destroyer before getting the rope walk, of course. Shooting star press for the win. There are no stories for luchadors anywhere. They just go out and do spot foo. That is Reg's dream. He loves it. I like stories and rules and time limits. I like all sorts of stuff. And structure. I just want to know how things are supposed to work, and we don't get that with our luchadors. But this is exactly what it was. This is kind of like the token luchador match of ROH that we get every week. Some combination of luchadors facing each other for no known reason, except to do athletic crazy shit. And you know what? That works for some people. Not so much for me.
Managed by Alex Abrahantes.
All of them are. Yeah. Your thoughts on our main event before we bring a very patient boy and Joel like the Fugazi song on.
This matchup is the only match that Reg will go out of his way to watch from this episode, because this seems like right up Reg's alley. This is a whole bunch of spots, and I can enjoy that. And especially when you got the base god Gringo Loco in there, and he's facing a whole group of luchadors. It just made it so much fun. Gringo Loco against any luchador is just a fun matchup. It doesn't need a lot of story to it. You can just enjoy it. As my friend Jimmy Macron says, you can enjoy it in a vacuum. You can just enjoy it, let it go, and then forget about it. That's what these luchador matches are here for. So I understand someone like Kate not wanting it to be the main event, but it's a nice way to kind of close out the show.
I don't watch things from in a vacuum. I watch them just from in my apartment on my couch. Okay, feel like it's weird to watch things in a vacuum. It's dirty. It's not even hygienic in the least.
It could be a clean vacuum. Just saying.
And speaking of not hygienic, Joel Pearl is here to talk about Impact.
I'll let you know. I'll have you know. I showered.
That's like
earlier this week.
In your defense, that is like a major W for wrestling. That's
it
like
is. Don't ask about the deodorant though. I'm in
my
house.
No. Well, I know you have a toothbrush available because you stole it from me. But how was Impact?
It was good. This was I don't want to say a maintenance episode, but I mean, we've got weeks until Bound for Glory. We've got 2 weeks, so things are getting set up. But overall, it was fine. Like there was nothing incredible out of it, but it was just a fun, easy to watch episode of Impact. Which honestly, if you can give me that, I'm pretty sure I'll keep watching. Plus, the obligation to do a post.
You get paid to do the post show. Yeah,
you know that part. That part.
How was the honorable ring?
It had its highs, it had its mediums, and it had its lows. Definitely heading like in the right direction, but there's never any champions.
I thought it was
the Bronx in October. No champions.
Don't do that to me. I'm in the Bronx right now. I'm gonna go outside. You're gonna get me in trouble. But I will say it was a really good in-ring show. There was a lot of good matches on this show. More good matches than we usually see on a regular Ring of Honor episode.
Yeah, Athena and Leyla tore it down. It was an absolute blast of a title match. But yeah, slow and steady improvement, we hope, but we will see what's to come. I'm gonna hop out of here. SP3 said he might stick around, so it's up to him if he wants to be your mystery tag partner, or if you're gonna go it alone.
Okay, I'm just gonna put this out there. Are you guys excited for AEW Ring of Honor Final Battle at the end of December or the beginning of December?
I was literally just talking about because I'm in New York City. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna be back at the Hammerstein. It's gonna be great times.
Oh yeah, I'll be the Hammerstein. Okay.
Yeah, right. SP3 and I are so there, buddy.
Can I come too?
You could, of course.
All right, I'm gonna crash on somebody's couch and hopefully make it through morning.
I'm gonna get you a gyro.
You're not gonna go to White Plains for Impact?
I need to go to Las Vegas for Hard to Kill instead. You know what my plan is? If I can get, okay, it's either Vegas or the Trop. So do I go to Vegas for Hard to Kill and hope that they give me some interviews, or do I go to the Royal Rumble and ask Sean, hey, you think they'll get me some interviews? Because I'm pretty sure Sean will go to the Rumble. But if I go to Hard to Kill, I gotta go to the Sphere.
You know that one of those is Florida, right?
The
answer is obvious.
Vegas.
Florida man. Yeah, go to Vegas.
Well, here's the thing. The Vegas trip is further away. Florida is closer. Florida is Florida, but Vegas is expensive.
Nope, you just said the deal breaker. Florida is Florida.
Florida is Florida.
Exactly.
But
I guess it's a little different for you than for me or SP3. I don't have rights. He has rights, but like loosely enforced. You know what I mean? Like it's a little different.
If I walk around with a hoodie and an Arizona iced tea, I might be in a little bit of trouble. So
my elders are all there waiting to die in Florida. So if anything, I might make a few bucks.
We're all different. There's different levels of
the human experience, ladies and gentlemen. With that, I'm out. We got nothing. I got nothing more to say.
Nothing's gonna top this.
Capping that off, but no pressure, SP3. If you don't want to stick around, Joel can do this on his own. That was his plan, but yeah, it's up to you.
I mean,
if you want to learn about Impact.
If he wants to tell me what happened on Impact and I react to, there we go.
I mean, I don't mind it, quite honestly.
I don't want you to be alone, Joel.
I can always be alone. I'm pretty good at it.
No, I know you could be fine all by yourself, but I don't want you to be all by yourself.
Well, that's fair. But I was gonna ask you something. Oh, you're basically bookending your day with Fightful.
Look at that. Look at that. I've done 3 streams today, and 2 of them were for Fightful. This is the most work a substitute teacher has gotten since like Rod Belding. We started off the show talking about Rod Belding. I'm going to keep talking about it now.
And on top of that, the one that was most enjoyable was probably the one on your own channel. I get it. It's okay. I get it.
Only because I'm with the most miserable person in the world.
God bless. Jimmy Macram ain't watching, but if he is, I appreciate you, pal. He knows every day.
He knows. He sees Joel's name. He's like, yeah, that's my guy right there.
All right. Are you ready to do this?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. For the audio friends, here we go. Hello, friends. We're back again. It's Fightful.com. It is October 5th, 2023, and it's time for your Impact Wrestling post show. I am Joel Pearl, and tonight I am joined by the guy that you may have just listened to if you were watching or listening to on the audio form, the Ring of Honor post show. And of course, if you listen to anything from Thursday on Fightful, he also did the Spotlight with Steven Jensen filling in this week. So I bring to you one more time the one and only SP3 from True Heel Heat. How are you, SP3?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Joel. I'm ready to go on this ride of Impact Wrestling and learn what happened. I've been enjoying the road to Bound for Glory, and I'm sure it was another good episode on the road here. So thanks for having me. Yes, the substitute teacher of Fightful, the mocha tint in the spotlight, and now I'm bringing a little bit of mocha to the Impact Zone.
We're doing it a little different this week. Once upon a time, when Cresta couldn't make it one week, I ended up having Kate stick around and I read her the review and she gave me her thoughts. We'll probably do something similar because SP3 was on the Ring of Honor beat tonight, but also SP3 watches the product on a consistent basis. So I will get some really good stuff out of him. And of course, we'll get some good stuff out of you if you leave a thumbs up here on this channel. And also subscribe to us here, youtube.com/Fightful, and send us a super chat. Go ahead, get your money out, bring it over to here. Go ahead. Any question or comment, any amount of money, we'll read that question, we'll read that comment, or you can go to humperchats.com, same thing, but this time we get a little bit more of the pie and it's maybe a little easier to give a little more, you can whatever you want to do. Humperchats.com, or you can leave a super chat here. On top of that, there's FightfulSelect.com. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but it's the best $5 in the business, best $54 a year, which it's a weird number that I have to remember until we get to a different number, because it was 51 on Monday, and now because it's the end of Thursday, it's suddenly 54 because we changed it's a whole thing. It's always $5 a month, okay? So
yeah, there you go.
FightfulSelect.com. We'll talk more about that a little bit. Now, as always, SP3, I start this with our BTI wrap. Real quick, our friend George Iceman. Have you listened to Mr. Iceman ever in your life?
No, I have not.
So George Iceman, has the one segment called Iceman Intel on BTI, where he gives his intel. He is the backstage source going across Impact.
So he's the Alex Marvez of Impact.
Yes, and pretty much just as effective. Except his intel comes from various locations. Some weeks he's in a coffee shop. Some weeks he's out by the docks in the river. Some weeks he's in a undisclosed location, and some weeks he's just at the vineyard. That's George Iceman.
Okay. Like like Joel said, I watch Impact every single week, but I never watch BTI. So this is totally new information to me.
So you got to go and watch BTI now, usually by like the 45, 43 minute mark. No, wait, the show's 45 minutes long. So like by the 35-minute mark, you can go in and see it. And this guy, he has a very old time radio style voice. He's like, I'm George Iceman. I'm overdoing it for the audience, but here he is. He's in the coffee shop. So as anyone who knows, he's back in the coffee shop, and he says someone close to Josh Alexander is telling him that he's in the gym training for his world title match against Alex Shelley, but tonight he faces Khan. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think Iceman has intel. I think he's just promoting what's going on the show tonight because people know what's going on tonight. And anyway, he says he's got to deal with Khan and Diener and probably Alex Shelley because Alex Shelley's going to be on commentary. So again, Iceman's not giving us any intel that we don't already know. So much like Alex Marvez, he's physically here.
Oh, he's stating the obvious. That's what he calls on the field reporting. So
yes,
that makes sense, and it makes sense why I've never heard of him.
You can call him. You can't really change his name to like Osman, obvious Osman, or anything. You got to find something that's just better than Iceman Intel, because it's just like we know Iceman.
We know, sir.
We know.
You're not telling us anything new at all.
Anyway, the matches that open up BTR, the only match really, is Savannah Evans versus Jessica. As Cresto would say, big meaty women slapping me. That's her trademark, not mine. By the way, I do want to send a shout out, send some love to Cresta Star. She's off this week. She's going to be back as soon as she can, but she was unavailable this week, but we want to send her our love, and we're hoping that we'll see her again very soon, hopefully next week, if not sooner. Third time Savannah Evans and Jessica have faced off against each other. This is the rubber match. They're 1-1. A lot of talk of Giselle Shaw possibly disassembling the Shantaraj SP3. I don't know. How do you feel about the idea of potentially losing the Shantaraj and Giselle Shaw going off into her own thing?
I mean, it might be time to do that, but I like the act, and I feel like Impact does this too often, where they have an act that's kind of working on the knockouts division, and they break it up too soon, and sometimes it's out of their hands, like the influence with Tennille Dashwood leaving. But like I thought, Fire and Flava, they could have got more out of that. I thought they could have got more out of Savannah Evans with Tasha Steelz, and I know she was going through the contract situation. So like I said, I know it's not always in their hands, but unless one of the people in the Shantaraj is leaving, I don't see a reason to break up this act.
Neither do I. And quite honestly, I'm really hoping that they keep it up and that they don't break up, because the good news is Savannah Evans gets the win. She gets the pounce, full Nelson slam. She defeats Jessica, which honestly makes perfect sense to me. For some reason, the story with Jessica and Courtney Rush trying to find their old bodies and return to them, but they have to win the Knockouts tag team titles first. It's gotten a little convoluted, and it should just they lost. Now what? But instead of going now what, they're going, we have to try again. And every time they try again, SP3, what happens?
They lose.
And
then they try again.
Try again. Anyway, I'm hoping that something comes out of this. But for now, the focus is back to Savannah Evans. She gets the win, and that's how we finish BTI. So let's move on to Impact Wrestling main show. Tasha Steelz versus Killer Kelly opens up the show. Good match. This is Tasha Steelz' first singles match since March, when she defeated, take a random guess,
Mickie James,
Giselle Shaw. Basically, when in doubt, Giselle Shaw it out. Shout out to both women, by the way. They coordinated their gear because both women are wearing a green and gold, even though they're not a tag team. In fact, they're a part of opposing tag teams. And then Masha Slamovich is wearing a Canadian tuxedo with statement glasses. Very un-Masha Slamovich, and it was quite the look. So good on that. Killer Kelly gets a roll up. At one point, lands on her neck.
Oy.
It was a gnarly looking roll up. Tasha goes for Stratisfaction. Kelly fights that off. It's a series of short arm lariats and a headbutt. There's a good looking butterfly suplex that Killer Kelly does. She's so smooth. Killer Kelly just has great in-ring work. She's technical. She can work with anybody. Tasha Steelz coming back, and she actually gets the win. She gets the win with the blackout, her crucifix bomb, and that's after Deonna Purrazzo shows up. She pulls the ref out of the ring. The referee's confused because she got pulled out. She doesn't know by who. She's assuming by Masha Slamovich because Deonna wasn't there originally. And I'm thinking to myself, so the referee doesn't know who the bad guy is, and neither do we, because that's a heel tactic move to SP3. So
Yeah.
knowing that Tasha and Deonna won the match, they pinned one half of the Knockouts tag team champions. What do you think of the match?
I mean, it sounds very, very good. I know that Tasha Steelz and Killer Kelly have like previous history with one another. Really, like Killer Kelly's first rivalry in Impact Wrestling was with Tasha Steelz, and I felt like that's another one. I was talking about groups before, but this was a rivalry that I felt like they could have got more out of. So I like them revisiting the matchup, and I like the Tasha Steelz and Deonna Purrazzo aligning with one another, where they're kind of in limbo right now, where they're not in the main title picture. So them coming together to go after the Knockouts tag team titles, which they have both held before with previous partners, I think makes a lot of sense to give them a big matchup for Bound for Glory. Hopefully that's where we're heading with MK Ultra and these two.
Well, let me tell you now, confirmed is that Knockouts World Tag Team Championship match. So MK Ultra is going to defend against Deonna Purrazzo and Tasha Steelz. I'm looking forward to this team because, like you said, Purrazzo and Steelz both held those titles with different partners at a different time. And they've been in limbo. I mean, Tasha Steelz was off TV for quite a while, and she just came back before Impact or at Impact 1000. And then you have Deonna Purrazzo, who, after a series of losses and just the Jordan Grace stuff, she's kind of not in the Knockouts World title picture. Where does she go? But she's always in a title picture. I'd like the team up. It's very different. What do you think of these two potentially winning these Knockouts tag titles?
I wouldn't mind it down the line if this is kind of like not a long-term thing and not a short-term thing, but somewhere in the middle, a middle-term thing, we'll say, of them getting together and chasing MK Ultra, because I would like MK Ultra to get more time with these titles, and they have a bunch of potential with each other, and I'm a huge fan of Masha Slamovich. I think that she is one of the best female wrestlers out there. Plus, I got to hang out with her. She's really cool, by the way. And Killer Kelly is very talented as well. So I want to see them go do more with the Knockouts tag team titles. And I think that they're a type of act that you can have a long reign, which is very rare with the Knockouts tag team titles.
It is. And I'm hoping, as much as I want to see them win, I do kind of want to see MK Ultra continue. They're making people feel a certain kind of way on Thursday nights, SP3. So
I know
you kind of have to keep that hand going if you're Impact, in my opinion. Anyway,
yeah, gotta go. Sex sells.
So, of course, we're talking about Giselle Shaw all the time. So John Skyler goes to the Shantaraj. He's still looking for a partner. He comes in and he's like, I'm coming to you first, Savannah Evans, because out of everyone in the Impact locker room, I haven't approached anybody else. I am going to approach you first. And then Giselle Shaw sitting in the background, she gets up and she's like, no, you didn't. You've been on social media like all week trying to find other partners. And then Skyler's like, she's the first girl I've tried to get. And so Shaw's like, first girl? Okay, no, you're getting Jay Vidal. And Jay Vidal's like, what the hell is this? And then Skyler, just turns around and says, wish I had the girl. And so there you go. It's a fans revenge match tonight. Skyler and Jay Vidal taking on Ace of Base. I'm looking forward to that. I did look forward to that. It was a good match, and we're going to talk about it. But instead, I'm going to go just more promos. Jonathan Gresham, Gia Miller. Before I talk about Gresham, what's your take on his kind of Impact status or what he's been doing on Impact Wrestling?
it just feels strange, and that it's not a story that we are getting like on a consistent basis. It always doesn't feel like we're getting a lot of progression to it. We got some progression last week with him cheating to beat Speedball Mike Bailey to get a victory, and that's so against everything he's been talking about on promos. So I think that we have a direction now, but he's been with Impact like off and on for the last 2 years. But you wouldn't really know it. You really know it if you pay attention to the product week to week, because he's not always here.
So Cresta and I had posited going into the tapings the Memphis tapings where we are now, that Jonathan Gresham was going to complete whatever heel turn he needed at the tapings. And the match against Speedball is where it started. He got the tights, 1, 2, 3. And so Gia Miller asked him, hey, why'd you cheat? And Gresham was just saying, I cheated last week to point out the incompetence of the referees and Impact. And I like that. Jonathan Gresham he's doing dastardly things, but he's saying, it's not my fault. I'm doing it because your system is flawed. So I'm going to, much like pure rules, I'm going to take the loopholes in order to continue enforcing my rules and the way I see the rules. In walks Speedball Mike Bailey, and he says pulling the tights is a foundational, basic world of sport pro wrestling maneuver. And I'm just like, bravo, Speedball. And then he asks, like, Mike Bailey asks Gresham, like, what are you doing? And then Jonathan Gresham just walks off, and that's it. So there you go. Gresham, we're working on a heel turn of some sorts. Mike Bailey, obviously unimpressed, having lost the match, and he's got a big one against Will Ospreay at Bound for Glory. What are we thinking? Is it still going to be Speedball and Ospreay? Are we going to get Gresham involved somehow? Is this going to be some mix-up, or are we just going to let these two guys do their thing at Bound for Glory?
I think they're going to let them do their thing, because Speedball Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay feels like the matchup that may be the greatest Impact matchup since AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels versus Samoa Joe. Like, you have two of the best in-ring workers in the world today, and they have to make up for the fact that this match got canceled earlier this year. So yeah, and it's Bound for Glory in the Chicago area. It's on the same card as Josh Alexander and Alex Shelley, so they have that as competition. And I got to do an interview with Josh Alexander that dropped today on True Hill Heat, and I asked him about that, and he was like, he's kind of apprehensive about the pressure that he's going to be under closing the show with Alex Shelley, someone that he's had one of his favorite matches with, but he has to compete with Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey and Mickie James versus Trinity and all the other matches. This is one of the best cards that Impact has ever put together. That's why I'm kind of confused why you're telling this story now. You've had all this time to tell this story. Why are we having Speedball Mike Bailey take a loss to Jonathan Gresham 3 weeks before he versus Will Ospreay? We should not be doing that. It seems like the wrong timing to tell this story. It doesn't seem like the wrong story, and it seems like they're doing this story well. It just feels like the wrong timing or weird timing on it.
It does. And Gresham was out for one of the tapings because of an injury, so that kind of took effect. And you're right. It should not be pushed to just because we're pushing it a taping. Now you know what you're doing with Speedball. Maybe don't do this right now. I agree with you. It was a very strange calling. I don't know, maybe if they'll play up something going into Bound for Glory or just coming out of it, because we know Impact announced that it's going to be Josh Alexander versus Will Ospreay at the Fallout tapings. So that could be a world title match. They said if Josh Alexander wins the Impact World Championship, then it's going to be Alexander and Ospreay for the Impact World title on a TV show. And then they go to the UK the following week. So start connecting your dots, ladies and gentlemen, where you're going. But I'm interested. But I agree with you. Gresham showed up again. He cheated to win, but he did it against the guy who's about to have a massive match. And maybe that's just enough. Maybe it's just enough that Speedball is Speedball. He'll be just fine. He can potentially eat that L to Will Ospreay and still look good. We've seen a lot of that lately. Wrestlers who take the L but look good while doing it. Julia Hart this past weekend at Wrestle Dream, that's a pretty good indicator of making your moments matter while still losing the match.
Yeah, I feel like Impact is viewing this matchup in a similar fashion to how AEW viewed Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr., where it's a dream match. You don't have to do a lot of building. You can do a video package here, and even Bryan took a loss in a tag team match to Ricky Starkz and Big Bill, where he took the fall in the build up to Wrestle Dream. So I get that type of thinking, but I would want, because Speedball has taken a bunch of big losses this year. It hasn't seemed like Speedball has had like a consistent row of wins in Impact Wrestling in a very long time. That's why I would want him to get a couple of wins before he's about to verse Will Ospreay in a match that, obviously, with them announcing Josh Alexander versus Will Ospreay's winning at Bound for Glory. So I would have wanted Speedball to get some wins before Bound for Glory.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'm sure we'll get a couple, but with Gresham, I mean, I'd love to see him put together some sort of team, some sort of trio. It's just a group of guys that follow his lead and want to take advantage of the system. I don't know.
A new foundation. Get him with the good hands.
That's the thing. I keep saying I don't want it to be a new foundation. I don't want it to be the good hands. I don't want it to be Kenny King and Sheldon Jean, because then it feels like you're just, getting all the black wrestlers and putting them in a stable together. And it's like, it becomes the Hit Row conversation all over again. It's like, stop trying to put every single wrestler of color in Hit Row. For weeks, I just kept saying, put Cameron Grimes in Hit Row. And people were just looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, now you know how it looks. Anyway.
No, I feel like the Good Hands is a team that it's about them being, good wrestlers, but they also cheat. So that kind of falls in line with what Gresham is going for. So that's why they were my first thought when you say make a stable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear what you're saying. I just don't think that the Good Hands are they're serious enough, but they're not there yet. And Crest and I have this conversation all the time. They're becoming more of a threat, but they haven't found that level up yet that takes them to being a serious Impact World Tag Team title contender. Someone in the chat's mentioning maybe Gresham is trying to get Bayley to turn heel. Well, we did that once. It ended in a pit fight or a fight. No, it was a pit fight. And that was between him and Kenny King. And he kicked Kenny King square in the head with a chair. And he was very angry that night, my friends. So
he was.
There you go.
Only time I've seen Speedball angry and not smiling.
Stop trying to make Speedball angry. He just smiles all the time. He's a very happy individual. Anyway.
I like Speedball happy.
Tommy Dreamer is happy, but Crazy Steve is not. Okay. So Tommy Dreamer is the digital media champion, for those who don't know. Someone earlier today was just like, I watch Impact. I used to review it. I only listened to the Fightful review, but you guys are way too okay with Tommy Dreamer being digital media champion. And I said,
this title does not mean anything, people. What are we talking about? It's not the Impact World title. It ain't the X Division title. This is the equivalent of the Legends Championship. I know my TNA lore. This is on the same lineage as the Legend Championship and the TV title. And what was the one where they did the round system title?
Oh, the Grand Champion.
The Grand Champion. Like the King of the Mountain Championship. TNA and Impact Wrestling has been known for these titles that are just outliers and you could put it on anyone. So the fact that Joel and Krista are okay with Tommy Dreamer being digital media championship should tell you where that title is.
We're mostly okay with it because Crazy Steve is more than likely going to win. And if he doesn't, then I won't be okay. So Tommy Dreamer comes out. He calls out Crazy Steve. And then Dreamer starts telling, because this is how a Dreamer promo always goes, tells the story of someone that he worked with and he has respects for them. So with Crazy Steve, he's like, you crashed in my hotel room when you started with TNA because you didn't have the money and I wanted to help you out. And then we were tag partners when you came back to TNA. And then he mentions that Crazy Steve is legitimately blind and calls him a modern day daredevil and he can duck by listening. He's an inspiration, yada, yada. And then Dreamer tells a story and he's like, probably shouldn't tell this. But one night, me and Steve were talking about how Steve can't drive a car because he's legally blind. So one night I took him to an empty parking lot nearby a hotel we were staying at. And I gave him the keys to my car and I let him drive. And Steve said it's the most alive I've ever found. And I'm sitting there like, dude, is the statute of limitations up? Because
I would hope.
Anyway,
that was the choice.
Steve's putting it over. He's crying. He's close to. And then Dreamer's like, "Hey, listen, Crazy Steve, if you wanted a shot at the Digital Media Championship, all you had to do was ask." It keeps putting him over as like the best wrestler, not just the best blind wrestler. And the crowd is happy. And then Steve and Tommy Dreamer hug. And I swear to God, SP3, Impact did it again. This was not planned, but essentially they did the Christian and Edge moment or Christian and Adam Copeland from AEW, except this time Crazy Steve put a fork in Tommy Dreamer's back. Crazy Steve effectively told Tommy Dreamer, "Go fork yourself."
Okay, folks. Yep. That they had him stab him. He stabbed him
in the back. Yeah.
Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling. I've seen multiple people get murdered for less.
God bless this company. I swear to God, this was if they hadn't had this segment on AEW last night, I wouldn't have enjoyed this nearly as much.
I guess like Impact Wrestling and NXT are just having a battle for who can book women and the craziest batshit accidents and attempted murders as possible, right? That's what seems like happens on these two shows.
Well, let's talk about intergender tag match. 10-person tag. Dango, Jake Something, Eric Young, Jordan Grace, and Champagne Singh. These are all random teams taking on the team of Mahabali Shera, Kylan King, Jody Threat, Brian Myers, and Bully Ray. So the reason this is happening is because the winners of this 10-man tag, 10-person tag, they face off in a 5-way with Call Your Shot Gauntlet entry implications. So there you go. It's a random assortment of wrestlers because you need to have the heels and faces to do the 5-way. I wish they had done some sort of backstage segment that showed me how these teams were made, drawing straws, playing dice. I don't care, just something. Either way, you should see Dango in a crown because at one point he wears one. Teases the Jerry Lawler top rope punch and Jody Threat blocks it. This was really good intergender wrestling. Jody Threat did a lot of good stuff. They teased Jordan Grace and Bully Ray once again. They had a little bit of a scuffle. I need a Jordan Grace and Jody Threat match immediately. They did a little bit, but I want more of that. Kylan King and Eric Young worked together really well. And then eventually Jake Something gets in. He dominates the field because it's Jake Something, takes out his own partners because heels and faces, and then he launches Dango into everyone on the floor. Jake Something hits into the void on Mahabali Shera, gets the win. What do you think of Jake Something since he's come back to Impact Wrestling?
They seem to be giving him somewhat of a push, but it seems to be more of like the slow one where they're kind of like testing the waters. I don't know how long the contract that he signed with Impact when he came back was, but it seems like more of like the testing the waters push than a full-on push, making him one of the main eventers. But he got that win in that matchup that had Sonata in it, gets the win here, and seems like should be one of the favorites for the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. So I'm enjoying what they're doing as far as this testing the waters type of push. Mahabali Shera should be doing more. This man was the most likable person on that whole Netflix wrestlers reality show. The only likable person on that whole entire show was Mahabali Shera. He has a great story as well. I want to see more from him. I want to see him do well. Like when I saw him on there, I popped because I was like, oh, you're one of the few people I actually knew before this besides Al Snow. And you're a lot better than him. So like Mahabali Shera, I want to see him succeed. I want to see him do the best. But yeah, so that's all. I mean, for most part, that's all. I mean, with Jake Something, I gotta see him really get a big win before I believe this is a real push.
My feeling with Jake Something is that they brought him back with the express intent to make him a star. I think they saw something bringing him back that was going to work because he did the cousin Jake stuff with Diener and it was whatever it was. I thought for a hot minute that they were going to try and put them back together as members of the design, but they still could because right now it's just Diener and Khan, and
design is dead. Basically,
design is effectively dead. They did a thing tonight. Well, they didn't do a thing. We're like, it looks like he wants to rebuild the design, but also there are a few people who are going to hit the market very soon who might be good fits for Impact and could join the design instead.
Could do that. Could do that.
Could do it.
Could. But I want to see Jake something get more, because I feel like he showed his potential as a single star when he had that matchup with Josh Alexander for the X Division Championship. I felt like that was kind of where I was like, oh, okay, this guy is very talented. He's not just a look guy or a guy you put in the stable. He's a guy that you could potentially see in the main event scene, or at least in the X Division scene.
And to me, the Sonata match was the first big opportunity and the first big, like, can he get over with the crowd? And again, we talk about getting over in a loss. Jake Something did that. He had a great competitive match with Sonata, looked good, and then he moved on and he had the tag team with Sonata for the one night for the 6-man tag. So there's a lot of good stuff. They clearly see something in Jake Something, no pun intended. So we'll see where it goes from there. Josh Alexander, however, they definitely see something in him, and he's backstage with Gia Miller, and he's just like, yeah, I want my world title back. And then he walks Alex Shelley, and he's like, I'll be out on commentary because I want to be your insurance policy for one night only. We're going to see how that plays out, won't we? Okay.
We shall see. We shall see.
We have a super chat here from Sheldon Jackson. He's asked, question, unless I missed it. Why didn't Impact include or promote the never open weight 6-man tag title match on Monday to add to the Shelley Alexander upcoming match at Bound for Glory on TV? So I'm glad that SP3 is here because he is my resident New Japan star. There is a 6-man open weight, never, a million primers to say 6-man tag titles in New Japan.
Yes.
Those champions there are what? Okada, Tanahashi, and Ishii, right?
Yes.
Okay,
that's
they're going to be taking on Motor City Machine Guns and Josh Alexander. And yes, they do have an upcoming Bound for Glory world title match in Shelley and Alexander. It's very strange. No, they're not promoting it. I think maybe that's a post-production decision. It feels like they should be, but it's not something that they included in tonight's show. Is that match tonight, or is that tomorrow or next week?
That's on Monday. That's Monday morning. New Japan Pro Wrestling's Destruction in Ryogoku. I feel like I did more to promote this matchup on my interview with Josh Alexander than Impact has done in the weeks leading up to this matchup. And I didn't see tonight's show, but it doesn't sound like they did much to build that up as well, because one of the elements of the match that I found interesting that I asked Josh about is the fact that he is teaming with Alex Shelley just weeks before their Bound for Glory matchup, and the fact of Impact could have showed the Okada clip of Okada talking trash about Impact Wrestling and TNA, and just film Josh, or just Josh and the Guns responding to that. Like, simple stuff. Like, I probably got the response that you could have put on TV in my interview that you could check out on Trio Heat. But yeah, it's like I asked him that question, and I felt like that probably should have been something on Impact TV, because I know New Japan's not going to do it, but y'all could have done it. But hopefully in the future, when New Japan, when Impact talent is going over to New Japan, we can see that integration a little bit more, but it's going to be a hell of a matchup. I can't wait to see it. Okada's been doing some of the best character work of his career. Angry Dad Okada has been one of the best characters in wrestling this year. Ishii, always one of the best, and him and Josh Alexander had one of the best matches last year for Impact Wrestling. And Tanahashi, this is the best role for him. I don't need to see Tanahashi struggling to get to the top rope in singles matches. I'd much rather prefer him in multi-man matches. So this is the best role for him. And there's a whole bunch of history there with Tanahashi just losing to Shelley for the Impact World Championship at Multiverse. You got Okada's history with Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin from his time in Impact Wrestling, Ishii and Alexander. So much to work off there. That's one of the matches I'm looking forward to the most, along with Hiromu Takahashi versus Leo Rush versus Speedball Mike Bailey, because that's going to be insane.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that match too. I'm going to try and watch definitely the morning after, or at least just odds are, as I'm waking up, the main event will be just wrapping up, because I'm usually up 6:37 in the morning, so it'll just be around that time. The 6-man tag, I don't think they were they've promoted it on socials through Impact. They definitely had the 3 guys, the Guns and Alexander, cut a promo in Memphis at the tapings. So they knew that the match was happening going into those tapings. My feeling is if there's some sort of breakdown in the match between Shelly and Alexander, they'll just show the footage on this week's or next week's episode of Impact, and they'll play it up as, you know, as we get closer to Bound for Glory, because stuff happens at the end of tonight's main event that kind of wants you to get a little bit more action between Alexander and Alex Shelley. So that's probably what they're going to do, and that would be fine with me. So we'll see what happens. They played a Mickie James video package. They played a bunch of those leading up to Bound for Glory, some better than others. The Mickie James one was good, but it was just the lost the title, want it back. That's the crux of it. Then they do an interview with Trinity backstage. She's with Gia Miller, and Trinity just said, I expected Mickie James to ask for that title match because, you know, she eyed me down at Impact 1000. She never lost the Knockouts World Championship. Says, you know, Mickie James is one of my true friends in wrestling, and I owe it to her to bring my best that night. So I am looking forward to Mickie James and Trinity. It's a very unexpected match for an Impact Bound for Glory, you know, high on the card match. But honestly, it's going to be better than Trinity versus Lish.
Yeah. Yes, it will be. I'm very interested in this matchup. I think Mickie James been doing exceptional work before her injury with the whole last rodeo. I think Trinity's been really good during her Impact run, and these are two named talents. So it feels like a big Knockouts Championship matchup where Bound for Glory feels like any three of those matches, any one of those three matches could main event the show. Will Ospreay and Speedball Mike Bailey's gonna be the best match, so that could main event the show. Alexander and Shelly for the World Championship, and then Trinity and Mickie James are such big names, they could headline the show as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ospreay opened the show.
I wouldn't. I feel like those big premiere like main event stars, it's like Michaels versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. I would never have said that match should have opened the show. That match was perfect in the middle of the show. That's what I feel like with Ospreay and Speedball. Middle of the show feels like the best place.
Just need to announce an Ultimate X match, and then I know what's going to open the show, because it's
yes, it's always Ultimate X.
Yeah,
always.
That trust brought up, get the trust down. Ultimate X. So just announce an Ultimate X match, and I won't have to worry about what goes on first.
They've already had like 3 of them in the past like 3 months.
What's 3 more? You know what? Bound for Glory Ultimate X. The entire show is just Ultimate X matches. Impact would never do something like that, right? SP3, where every single match is the same stipulation. They would never
book a pay-per-view called Lockdown.
No. Why would they do that? No. And if they called it Lockdown, would they put every match inside of a solid steel cage, a solid steel cage?
And always main evented by a lethal lockdown that one of the teams is captained by Sting? For like 11 years, like they would never do that.
Never. In fact, would never. But they did find the loudest and rowdiest fans, and they gave them straps because the fans' revenge match is back. First time in years, and I love it. Ace of Base take on John Skyler and Jay Vidal. Skyler cuts a promo cutting down Memphis because that's just what you want to do when the fans are at ringside about to slap the shit out of you. The fans are at ringside, and they've got like, I wish I had a belt. They were basically like doing that thing where you snap the belt.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever did that when you were a kid or like. Anyway.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So they're doing that at ringside, and all you hear is just snap, snap, snap. And it's very fun and very stupid. The fans going after Skyler and Vidal. They're cheering Ace of Base. And of course, you've got superfan Will, who's also a part of everything Impact. So he's taking.
You know Will? Will's my boy. I used to work with Will.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah,
he's great. He takes a selfie with Chris Bey in the middle of the match, and Chris Bey retweeted the selfie, the TV angle, and then the actual photo. I wish I had it. I don't have it because you know what? I was too busy getting the this.
Oh yeah,
the fork spot. But anyway. Instead,
that did not look like a fork spot. That looked like something else, folks.
Got me for a second. Anyway, yeah.
Back after dark.
Well, may as well be. It's already after 11 Eastern. I should be in bed. Anyway, the match was fine. It It was fine. It was good. Yeah, Chris Bey taking shots at the Rascals via the hard cam, doing the tease and everything. Skylar takes a line of strapping until Chris Bey dives onto him on the outside. Art of the Fold gets the win. And then post-match, Ace of Bays invite the fans into the ring. They do a big, everyone gets their Bullet Club sign up. And I just think to myself, man, Bullet Club is becoming a little bit crowded these days.
I mean, Bullet Club is basically like the Crips and the Bloods. Basically, I'm gonna teach you gang structure right now, Joel.
Okay.
Basically, the Crips are represented in different places. So they got the Long Beach Crips, they got a whole bunch of different sets. So basically what Bullet Club is different sets of the same gang. So you got the Bullet Club Gold, you got the Bullet Club War Dogs, you got the ABC, you got the OC. Like these are all different sets of the same gang. So like the Crips that are in California don't always mess with the Crips in New York. The Crips in New York don't always mess with the Crips in the South. So that's how we work. The Bullet Club Gold don't always mess with the War Dogs. War Dogs don't always mess with the OC. OC don't really mess with the ABC, but the ABC seems to be the only ones that are actually baby faces. And I hope that we see ABC versus the Rascals, because that would be an absolute banger to add to my argument that this is the greatest card Impact has ever put together.
Everything you just said was basically Christianity.
That too! Bingo!
And I'm a Jew, so that's saying a lot. Okay. Hey, sends us a super chat saying props to Skylar for pulling through this one. Yes, good for him, and good for Jason Hotch, because first of all, became a daddy during those tapings. Congratulations, but also he had the wherewithal to have a kid before a fans revenge match, so he wouldn't get himself strapped for an entire match. Good for him. Smartest man in wrestling.
He is, man. That's smart thinking right there. And no, I am not a Crip, but one of my best friends is. That's all I would say.
Well, all right.
So that's how I learned. That's how I learned how structure works, and especially because he's been watching wrestling lately, and he's like, "Oh, the Bullet Club is just like us." So that's why I said that's how we work. I literally just verbatim did how he explained it to me. When I explained him the structure of the Bullet Club, he broke it down in Crip structure.
You ever see that one TikTok about the guy who like did a whole D&D campaign with different gang members, and it was his way to like save himself and his mom, and wanted to get them out of the gangs, and like, did you see this shit?
No,
oh, it's so good.
It sounds fabulous.
And he's like, and I didn't want to make it like nerdy, so I made it like Candyland, or I made it like gang related. And it was very like, it got him into role playing games and got them all hanging out in like his basement, just being like they all pretending like they don't know each other. It's a really funny shit. I'm gonna find the video for you later. Anyway,
please send that to me. And yes, I see A-Shock in the chat bringing it up. Myron Reed about to debut and join up with his Rascals, and I feel like a prophet, ladies and gentlemen, because if you go back, I'm plugging another interview, Joe. I'm sorry. Go back to my interview with Trey Miguel earlier this year. One of my main questions was, would you like the other Rascals, Zachary Wentz and Myron Reed, to join you in Impact Wrestling? And here we are 6 months later, and we're about to see both in Impact. I feel like a prophet. I feel like I have made this happen. So thank you, Impact Wrestling.
I mean, in the defense of others, Wentz was inevitable.
Yeah, Wentz was pretty inevitable, but I had to mention Myron Reed because Myron Reed's been killing it on the independent scene. He killed it in MLW as their cruiserweight light heavyweight champion over there. Had a great feud with Leo Rush during the pandemic, and I felt like he's always needed an opportunity on a bigger stage, and Impact Wrestling is a step up, and I'm gonna love seeing him either if it's in the tag team division with one of the Rascals, or I feel like he would be a star in the X division in Impact.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to it. They announced today that Myron Reed's going to join the rest of the Rascals, at least for the tapings, and then we'll go from there. That'll be fun. Dobby the Brain Heenan says, I'm with SB3. The Bound for Glory shaping up to be the best. All title matches are straightforward bangers with the Call Your Shot Gauntlet getting everyone else on the card. Yeah. And it's true. Again, this is a very well built up show that we're going to see October 21st. By the way, we will be live doing a post show after Bound for Glory. Myself, Crescent Star, and Steven Jensen of the Weekender podcast and of the Spotlight. If you want to watch stuff with Steven Jensen, Spotlight was on earlier today, and the guy next to me, SP3, he was there with too. So
I was here, the mocha tint of the Spotlight. That's what I am. And just to specify, I see also in the chat people saying Judgment Day. Judgment Day does not count in Bullet Club lore. Jay White made the edict that OC counted. He never made the edict of Judgment Day. Judgment Day was started by Edge, so that would be in the lore of the Brood. That's a subsection of the Brood. Just because Finn comes in and joins the group doesn't make him the leader. He's never been the leader. Rhea's been the leader. So it's not a subservient of the Bullet Club.
I agree. Moose and Bhupinder Gujjar have a very quick match that'll probably not last longer than what we talk about afterwards. Gujjar looks good, gets a little bit of offense, but it's like 80% Moose, who wins with the power bomb and a spear. Moose has got not the call your shot. I always want to say it because he did that once upon a time. Moose has the Feast or Fired briefcase for the world title shot. He can cash that in when he's ready. But post-match, Macklin comes out and he's like, hey, that briefcase that I just talked about, I grabbed it in the Feast or Fired match. And then Rhino came out and he gored that briefcase out of my hands, landed into your lap, Moose. So why don't you hand me the briefcase? And Moose is like, I know you're crazy, but I know you're dumb. I'm like, all right then. And then this is a whole thing like, oh, maybe it's going to be a setup and that Bully's going to come out, and then Macklin's like, nah, he's too busy trying to, avoid PCO. And then PCO shows up and he takes out all three men. And then he goes up the stage. And then as Macklin's going up the stage, Rhino gores Macklin and leaves him laying once again. That Macklin and Rhino feud, I guess they got to do something at Bound for Glory. Yeah. I'm guessing it's going to be a hardcore match of some sorts. But Rhino has Macklin's number and he's looking strong going into this match. Clearly get a Macklin win, get us moving forward. But other than that, I mean, Moose with that briefcase is looking a little bit strange, isn't it?
I mean, I'm interested to see what they're going to do as far as this briefcase with Moose, because it feels like, he's just re-signed with the company, that this would be the way to put the title back on him. But I also feel like we might see the whole angle just kind of came into my head a few weeks ago when it found out he had the world title. I was like, oh, so they're probably going to have Josh win against Ali Shelley and then Moose try to cash in. But this time Josh, faults him or stops him or beats him. And he just wasted the title shot. I feel like that's where we're heading to, more than Moose getting another reign with the title, which I feel like he could be in line for, and he could be good in, because he exceeded expectations as Impact World Champion the first time. I think he could do it again.
I called this in 2020 when it happened, that Josh Alexander at the time was going to win the world title, had that big moment, and then Moose, who had done the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, was going to take it away just like that. And it's exactly what happened. People were so upset. And I'm like, no, it made perfect sense. You're not going to give people the moment yet. And it worked out. So we're not in the same territory this time, but Moose was a good champion, and there's potential for him to be champion again, or at least have a really, really good feud with whoever's holding that title at the time. So we'll find out. Backstage with the Rascals, the aforementioned Rascals. They finally tagged those Impact World Tag Team titles with an R, because Rascals.
Duh.
And then Santino walks in and he's unhappy, because of course he is. And then Ace of Bey's walk in and they're like, hey, listen, we got our briefcase from Feast or Fired for the World Tag Team title shot, and we're going to cash it in at Bound for Glory. And then Sammy and Swan walk in. By the way, check out our interview with Sammy Callahan over with Sean Ross Sapp earlier this week. He talks about his departure from Impact Wrestling. So what I'm about to say is very awkward. Sammy and Swan challenged the Rascals to a tag team title match. So hintity hint.
What's that, next week?
That's next week.
Oh.
They make the match.
Makes sense.
The winner of Rascals versus Sammy and Swan will face Ace of Bays at Bound for Glory for the tag team titles. So it'll be Rascals versus Ace of Bays at Bound for Glory for the Impact World Tag Team titles.
Hey, Ace of Bays versus ABC versus all the Rascals, man. They've been tearing it up over on Revolver and on across the independent scene. And you've seen Trey Miguel and Ace Austin. They have amazing chemistry together. The Rascals, one of the best tag teams, and have been tearing it up since they reunited in Impact Wrestling. And ABC has been they are probably going to be Impact Tag Team of the Year. So I think putting these two at Bound for Glory just adds to this card. That you got a card that got Alexander versus Shelly, Speedball versus Ospreay, Mickey versus Trinity, ABC versus the Rascals, MK Ultra versus Tasha and Deanna. Sheesh.
Sabin versus Kenta.
There's a reason I didn't mention that, Joel, because ladies and gentlemen, I've said it once, I'll say it again. He's saying that getting excited about Kenta in 2023 is the same about getting excited for a Jinder Mahal match.
Oh, or for 2017, that Backlash pay-per-view went hard, okay? That moment when Randy Orton dropped that title, yes, Randy dropping that title to Jinder, that was my shit. I sat there, the troll that I am in wrestling lore, and I said, oh, Jinder's going to win. I'm going to have a good day. And he did.
Only the trolls love that moment. Like, trolls and people of Indian descent. I understand if you enjoy that moment.
Well, we needed to do it for the Indian market so that we could get that huge rights fee, right? The TV rights fee, which is all the rage right now in wrestling talk.
Yeah. Like, all I'm saying is that Kenta is a victim of a lot of injuries. In basketball terms, for my basketball fans out there, Kenta is basically Chris Paul. He was great. He was great in the early 2000s. He was even really pretty good in the 2010s. 2020s?
What
downhill?
Hold on. Downhill. Listen, he's going to share a locker room that night with Will Ospreay. What if Ospreay just a little bit before his match?
Unless he was in the match with Ospreay. Then I'll be like, yo, this might be a really great matchup. Chris Sabin is a great wrestler, but when they said Chris Sabin versus Kenta, I was like, wow, this would have been a great match in 2007.
And what's really funny is that they air a whole promo where Sabin's talking about the parallels between their careers. You started wrestling in 2000. I started wrestling in 2000. And I'm like, oh, that was like, that's a university graduate's birth date right now. That's okay. All right. Get it together. The match will be fine.
Yeah.
The match will be fine. Sabin continues to put on bangers. He'll carry Kenta, or Kenta will come alive and have a good match. Either way, we'll be talking about it.
I guarantee you Kenta's going to do a low blow and a referee bump. That's all I can guarantee you from the matchup.
Well, I can guarantee you all the scoops over at FightfulSelect.com. The best $5 in the business. You want to talk about a released NXT superstar ending up at MLW? We got the scoop tonight over on FightfulSelect.com. What about Nick's plans for DIY? We had those too. We posted those today over on FightfulSelect.com, and an update on the wonderful sound issues that stopped us from seeing an Adam Cole, Roderick Strong segment that was so good, so incredible, so amazing, so earth-shattering that we had to watch it twice. If you were watching on TBS, FightfulSelect.com. We have the info on WBD and AEW and the issue that happened and what everyone's feeling and so on and so forth. Just go get it over there. Along with the Weekender, Steven Jensen. He does that podcast. If you want to know more about independent wrestling and get all of your scoop from the independent world over there, FightfulSelect.com. Sour Graps, if you want that sourness of WWE, Alex Pulaski gets you covered twice a week over on FightfulSelect.com. Q&A with Sean Ross Sapp, Q&A with Grapsity guys, etc., etc., etc. Stop going for the aggregation on Twitter because it is no bueno. It's no good. It's garbage. It's getting worse. It's getting to the point where Jeremy Lambert's just making shit up so he can post his articles. It's very funny. But if you go over to FightfulSelect.com, you get all of the news, all of the scoops, everything you're supposed to get as it's supposed to be reported, as it was originally done, for $5 a month. Okay, go over, get it, easy peasy, as Oscar would say. Okay, Oscar, who will be on Impact, wow, on NXT this coming Tuesday.
He's gonna be on Impact. Let's go.
I talk about journalism and being accurate reporting and everything, and then I go and say Oscar's gonna be on Impact.
Let's go. We trying to bump up that Impact rating. Talking about Tuesday Night War. It's all about Thursday.
They've been doing pretty well, actually. Let's be frank.
They have been.
They're doing pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I even have the note in the Saban and Kenta promo. It'll be the first time ever between those two, so that'll be fun. Next week, tag title match: Rascals and Sammy and Swan. The 5-way match between Something, Young, Grace, Dango, and Singh, and then the 2 out of 3 falls match. It's finally going to end. SB3, Frankie Kazarian and Edward Edwards. We're finally going to finish the story.
Jesus Christ. They're going to finish their story before Cody too?
This is one time where I'm totally okay with it. At least this story can end. It needs to end. I need it to end. 2 out of 3 falls. I was told that the match was very good, but I can tell you that this is a match that should have been always a TV feud, and it should not have gone as far as it did. Quite frankly, the Tracy Brooks blow off, like the mixed tag, that should have been it. That should have been
it. That could have been it. That could have been it, and both guys could have walked away with 1 win each, and you could have ended the feud with the mixed tag match. But they want to run it back. I guess they don't have anything other for Frankie Kazarian. They have a lot of guys who feel like they should be in title pictures, or did feel like they should be in title pictures. Like Frankie Kazarian, after those promos they did, they should have put him in the title picture in some way, or at least start the build towards that. They feel like he's been so sidetracked with Eddie Edwards that it's killed any momentum that he did have.
So the way I put it with Cresta was that this feud is for someone who is an Impact fan. It is for someone who is either an old hat Impact fan, an old school Impact fan, someone who likes the history of Impact, someone who likes this whole like Killer Kowalski storyline. This, whatever this is, this has a place at Impact. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone who wins is going to be coming out looking for a title match, because the title scene is either call your shot or a briefcase, or other wrestlers who are currently talking actively about world title shots. That's what's kind of missing right now. Kazarian and Edwards are floundering a bit, and I don't really care to see Edward Edwards in a title contention right now. Frankie Kazarian, maybe the X Division title. I don't like how he won the X Division championship off of Speedball and ruined everything for the fantasy bookers out there, or really just for most people who want
me. I'm a Speedball fan. It ruined it for me.
I get it.
But yeah, this Kaz and Eddie Edwards are reminding me of bad Impact feuds, of Impact feuds that go on too long, like Chris Harris versus Black Rain, or Abyss versus Sting, or Abyss versus Julius Medinas or Medias, whatever that guy's name is. He became Mila Mortez in Lucha Underground. But yeah, it just reminds me of those feuds. It's not fond memories that I have of all those feuds that I just mentioned. They just went on very, very long. Like when Brother Ray feuded with Brother Devon after they ended, and it just went on and on and on without any type of resolution at all.
Judas Messias.
There you
go. And also, I thought you were going to do like Abyss in this guy and Abyss in this guy.
Yeah. There was a bunch of Abyss and Bully Ray when he became Joseph Park. Another example of that. The Abyss was the king of feuds that just never would end. Him and the Relic. Him and Black Rain.
Abyss and Grado.
Abyss and Grado. Oh my god.
That was the best.
Abyss and Stevie. There's another one. Jesus Christ. Abyss and Raven.
Actually, I liked Abyss and Raven. There was okay stuff there.
Only Abyss feud I really enjoyed was Abyss and AJ Styles, because of that cage match at Lockdown.
No, I get that. Remember how we were just shitting on the idea of Lockdown? Anyway, Josh Alexander takes on Big Con in your main event. Alex Shelley's on commentary. So the one thing that's really neat about this match, first of all, I don't think it needed to be the main event. The match was good, but in terms of like importance on the card, cool. Why they made this important? Khan's first match back in Impact in 2022 when he returned was against Josh Alexander. And Josh won in about 40 seconds. He just picked the leg, rolled through, got the ankle lock, tapped out Khan. That was it. So they did a lot of like big man tactics. Josh trying to keep Khan down by using the top rope or doing dive moves, things like that. And then eventually, Khan's got a choke bomb that looks good. Diener's screaming for more violence. They do a referee bump because of course they do. And Alexander's just slapping the shit out of Khan's chest and does his Lope crossbody as he does. Diener grabs a chair. Shelley takes it away. And then Alexander accidentally punches Alex Shelley in the face. Okay, sure. Alexander reverses Khan's chokeslam into the ankle lock, just like we talked about in that 2022 match. And then he gets the C4 spike, which is a great visual. Alexander hitting that C4 spike on Big Khan looked really impressive. Also looked like he spiked the shit out of his head into the mat. I had to go back and watch it on replay, and I was just, Khan was moving afterwards. He was fine. There was never any talk about him being injured, but man, he got it snug. So Alexander gets the win. Khan got spiked. Good match. Post-match, Alex Shelley gets in the ring. He takes exception to being punched in the face by Josh Alexander. Alexander's like, hey, heat of the moment. I messed up. I'm sorry. And then Shelley hits Shell Shock on Josh Alexander, and we're out of time. What do you think of this whole kerfuffle?
Sounds like a good matchup because Josh Alexander has nothing but good matchups. Josh Alexander, when you really give him the time, he puts himself in that conversation for one of the best wrestlers in the world. So it doesn't matter if you're an X Division guy or a big man like Khan, you're going to probably have one of your better matches against Josh Alexander. I like how they've been building this whole rivalry with Alex Shelley, where Alex Shelley have shown some heel tendency, but it really hasn't been a full-on heel turn. It feels like more or less he is a heel because he's facing a bigger baby face. That's all that this is. It doesn't feel like this is like the next chapter of his title reign is going to be him as a heel. It feels like he's a heel for this rivalry here. Now, if that's going to help him beat Josh Alexander, I don't know. My money is on Josh Alexander for Bound for Glory to regain the Impact World Championship. But I do have questions as far as then what's next, because it felt like, Josh, you did all that work with Josh's run, and it felt perfect for Macklin to end it, and we really haven't come up with a long-term plan since then. There hasn't been the next guy up since then, and it felt like we were building Josh for a while to be the next guy up. And, Shelley has been a great guy to be the champion, but we need that next guy up mentality, because after Josh, you built Macklin to be the next guy up, but there hasn't been a next guy up after Macklin. We just need that now.
Jake something.
Could be. You could be right. I could be wrong that it doesn't feel like a testing the waters push, and that this is the start of his trajectory up the ladder.
Madcap Mike Rallis.
Oh my God, Dave will deadass call him that. You know who I think it's gonna be?
Bhupinder Gujjar?
No, the artist formerly known as Elias Sampson. Elias. Yes, give me Jeffrey Daniel Sassuolo.
Yeah, it ain't gonna work. We'll call him Jeff Elias.
Jeff Elias, yes. No, they'll just combine all his names, call him Ezekiel Elias Sampson.
That would work, actually. They'll call him Jeff Sampson. There you go.
Jeff Sampson.
Oh man, I don't know what they're gonna do. Bhupinder Gujjar, going back to him for a sec, is someone that I continue to have my eyes on because I see him often in the Toronto area, and I know that Impact has they have a want for him to build. They're putting him in big opportunity matches. They see something in him, and so do I, but they haven't done anything with him yet. And I'm wondering if it's an age factor, if it's a language factor. His English isn't the best, but I don't know. I don't know what they're waiting on when it comes to Bhupinder Gujjar. There's something there.
I think he's more of like a developing guy. He's like a guy that is like prospect that they're gonna watch grow and go through the growing pains with him. But he doesn't feel like a guy that's kind of ready made for that push to be the next guy up. I feel like more like, with Jake something, like he's got the look, he's good in the ring, and they're starting something here that he could be that next guy up. Honestly, I think it's either Trey Miguel, Chris May, or Ace Austin that should be the next guy up, and they should have been the next guy up for like the past 3 years. Like all 3 of these guys seem ready made to be main eventers in Impact Wrestling, and I love them in the tag team division, and it makes the tag team division more must see. But yeah, I think that we're like a year away from me being like, it's time, Chris Bay, Impact World Champion. It's time, Trey Miguel in the main event scene. It's time, Ace Austin, who everybody was calling the next AJ Styles in 2020, and nobody says that anymore because they put him in a tag team, or before that they were put him in the background. So it's kind of disappointing.
I call him Quadzilla, just like his partner. Man's got big meaty quads. Good for him.
Big meaty quads.
Big meaty quads. The man's, by the way, Gujar's only been wrestling for 4 years. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah. He is a prospect for Impact. He is one of Scott D'Amore's guys. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to his development. We get to see it. And again, the match with Moose was good. It wasn't ever a doubt that Moose was going to win, but it was the fact that Gujar got a couple things here and there. One of the best matches I saw him in was Gujar working babyface and turning heel in the match, and it was a match against Silesia Starkz, who's appeared on Ring of Honor and AEW Dark a few times, and he was playing the reluctant babyface, didn't want to wrestle a woman, didn't want to fight a girl, and then eventually ended up going, toe-to-toe and winning by cheating. Something was starting there, and I was like, when they go back to Impact, like, they need to bring something like that into his character. So we'll see where they go, but for now, he's not factored in, but he's moving. Something's happening. But I agree with you. Chris Bay, Ace Austin, Trey Miguel, these are guys that are definitely on the rise and should be on the ascent to the next year to round out your singles card.
Exactly. That's all I got. You can put the guns back in the tag team division. Like, it's not going to make the tag team division suffer. You got enough guys, you can make it work. But I feel like these guys should be in the main event scene. And I feel Puinder is a guy that in the future could be on that level as well. And Impact needs to use some of the stuff these guys are doing outside in here. They're doing that with the Rascals and ABC. Like I said, they've had a rivalry in Revolver pretty much this entire year. So they're just basically taking that from Revolver and putting it over here. Someone like Shira that I said I want to see more of. Present him as a babyface. I don't ever remember Impact really doing that. Like really committing to him as a babyface. Not since he first came in. That was only like the only time when they were doing Rock and King Ring, whatever that was in India. That was the only reason they made him a babyface. Try that again. I think he's good.
Dex Baker he's going to round us out today. SP3 said it. When I got back into Impact in 2020, 4 stars were clearly the next top guys. Trey, Bay, Austin, and Grace. What's happening? Well, I mean, Jordan Grace just came back and she's on one hell of a deal. So I don't think you have to worry about her. Ace Austin, Chris Bay, they are over and they're doing really good stuff. They will become champions one day. I think they're in the right spot. And Trey, again, he is a champion. He had a great X Division run. He's not the top of the card right now because there's a lot going on in the Impact top of the card. It's a very, very busy card. People need to be shuffled in and out. Again, Kazarian and the Edwardses of the world, they got to find their spot. Bully continues to be part of that whole thing, but maybe he's getting out of there. Either way, I agree. These are the people, though. You can see who they're putting out there and who they're making a big part of the show. So we'll see where it goes.
I know my friend Steven Jensen has said this plenty of times, but I need Impact to pull a WWE and try to erase history and put the Impact World Championship on Jordan Grace. To totally erase the previous person of the same gender that had that title. Jordan Grace feels like the perfect person to make a female world champion.
I can tell you it feels like they are closer to having Jordan Grace work that world.
She's my pick to win the Call Your Shot Gauntlet because I feel like that's the perfect opportunity because you have someone that you could pretty much cash in this Call Your Shot Gauntlet on any title. The Knockouts, the world title, the X Division title. I feel like she's the pick to win the gauntlet.
When she didn't challenge Trinity, that's when I was like, okay, she's going to bypass the Knockouts title and probably go for the world. Anyway, the lights behind me are out, so very clearly that means it's time to go. They're on timers. Those timers mean, Joel, you've gone too long. You've spoken your piece. It's time to get out of here. That's Impact Wrestling for October 5th, 2023. SP3, first of all, stop. Thank you for hanging out. And please tell the people where they can find you and what you got going on.
You can follow me on the Twitter machine at True Heel SP3 for the podcast listeners. That's TRU, no E, and Heel SP3. You can check out the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. We're very close to hitting 10,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and help us hit our goal for 2023. Right now, you can see my interview with Josh Alexander, where we talked about Impact Bound for Glory, his match with Alex Shelley, his New Japan Pro Wrestling debut. He explained to me how he discovered he was going to debut for Impact Wrestling, for New Japan Pro Wrestling, which was a fun story. So go over and check that out, and what he thinks about Okada's hatred for New Japan. I also asked him about, and check out AE Rambo reviewing last night's Dynamite with me and Jimmy Macaram, as I believe it's the best Dynamite review on all of YouTube, because Jimmy Macaram hates AEW. Great.
I'm going to put it over. It's a really good show. Okay. Just go watch it. Just go subscribe to True Heel Heat. Subscribe to us here at Fightful.com, youtube.com/Fightful. I am at Joel Pearl, JOELPEARL. Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary. I am back tomorrow morning going in the weeds with Jeremy Lambert over on Fightful Overbooked. Subscribe to us there at Fightful Overbooked on YouTube. Until then, we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.